Gaming news today is all about reactions. First, Naughty Dog is once again under fire, and this time it's for something that you wouldn't expect. I've got a video to react to that is making the rounds, and I've not even pre-watched it. Sometimes I prefer to have like a raw reaction with you guys, so be sure to check the timestamp below if you were not here for the live show, and remember to support the original content anytime we react to anything here. Second, this is not the only thing we're going to react to. An old GDC clip has resurfaced of Bungie. They're once again being criticized, but unlike the last time, this is about things that happened in the present rather than what they said in the past. Third, The Division is making headlines, and not just for The Division 3, but also something interesting about The Division 1 that I did not expect. Fourth, I'm going to throw this one in here because I think it's interesting to me and, a game that I've followed for a long time. I heard, and we are hearing now, that Ninja Theory's next game will be Hellblade 3. There was a game called Project Mara that was in concept phase. They have decided to not do that. It could still obviously come out at a later date or come off the shelf, but it has been shelved, and they are instead working on Hellblade 3. And I'll admit I'm a little torn, and hopefully they get back to what made Hellblade 1 so special, leave behind a lot of those foundational decisions that they made with Hellblade 2. And since the other segments that I'm going to do are a little bit more reaction, I wanted to open with what I hope for Hellblade 3 very quickly, just because it is an important game to me, an important franchise to me, as much as I enjoyed Hellblade 1. Now, if you're watching this later, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Those are things that help me immensely. Also, you can support directly. This is a channel that is fan-funded, and it's how I'm able to do this full-time. Consider clicking join, and when you become a member, you can get into our members Discord as well as members-only chats whenever we do them. So, I'm just going to start with sort of the list that I have for this game. My quibbles with Hellblade 2 are sort of well known. So now that we know that Hellblade 3 is Ninja Theory's next project, I wanted to quickly talk about the do's, the don'ts, and my hopes for Hellblade 3. If you're not aware, Hellblade 1 is one of my all-time favorite games. I've played it 3 or 4 times, and I absolutely adore it. Hellblade 2 was probably one of the most disappointing games I have played this generation, and I've gone into great detail about why. I really felt that Ninja Theory became infatuated with the technology, and they lost sight of what made Hellblade 1 so good. So the things that I really want to make sure that they do with Hellblade 3 are pretty simple. You have to keep Melina Juergens involved as the centerpiece. She's an absolute tour de force when it comes to voice acting and acting. I love the fact that she was never really meant to be the character. She was a stand-in from, I guess, like their video department. Like, I think she was an editor or something like that. And she was so captivating as Senua that she got the part. She has since won countless awards for her portrayal of Senua in Hellblade 1. And I believe she's gotten a ton of nominations for Hellblade 2 as well. That's sort of the other thing I hope that they do. Really keep the story and the character of Senua as the focus. There is a higher degree of cast members now after Hellblade 2, and I thought they all did perfectly fine in their own right with acting, but she needs to be the centerpiece, and her story needs to continue. And I do think they need to keep a high degree of focus on high-level graphics and realism. It is probably the one shining part of Hellblade 2 that is undeniable. It is one of the best-looking games that has come out this gen, and it really flexes some of the technology that is available now. But there are some things I really hope that they don't do with Hellblade 3. I really hope they do not repeat the combat system mistakes. They decided to do every single thing that she does is motion captured. Well, it led to a very, very segmented and truncated experience. It felt like a glorified QuickTime event. I did not feel like I was in control of the character to a great degree. We actually did side-by-side comparisons of the combat in Hellblade 1, and there was such a larger amount of movesets, fluidity, as well as just feeling like you could do more with the character in group fights especially. I really did feel that they went off kilter here, and I think some of it was because they really thought that capture technology was so impressive that it would make up for the fact that the player was now in less control of what was happening. I really hope they don't repeat the shallow puzzles. I think one of the things that really stood out in Hellblade 1 was the puzzles were mysterious, they were strange, they were also very creative. I did not feel like they innovated in this department at all in Hellblade 2. It was very, very simple, and many of them were almost unsatisfying. It was essentially just opening up pathways constantly. It was very clear to see, and solutions did not really ever seem to evade me. I also don't think they should repeat the lack of character through line. One of my biggest criticisms of Hellblade 2 was that it really didn't feel like Senua had ascended or really grown at all. Many of the conversations with the voices in her head in the early parts of Hellblade 2, probably for the front half of the game, they were very repetitious, very flat tire. It felt as if she had not changed at all. It felt as if she was exactly the same as she was in Hellblade 1. Maybe a little less skittish and more confident in her combat abilities, but there were many times she kind of pulled herself up by her bootstraps in Hellblade 1 and got pretty confident in her ability to fight as well. I also want to see that character arc come to completion. This is the hopes that I have for the game. They need to get back to their roots. There is a clear transformation that takes place in Hellblade 1, and largely her character in Hellblade 2 is very static. They need to bring the story to a satisfying end and conclusion. I think 3 games is perfectly fine. If you made a little bit of a misstep with the second game, I can be very forgiving because I love the first game so much. I also hope they really innovate on the puzzles. I know they're a creative team and they have creative vision. I just think the technology really got in the way this time around. Also, combat doesn't need to be overbaked. If they decide to rework the combat system to put the player in more control, it just needs to be really solid. It needs to be responsive, but it also needs to be expanded. Get away from the motion capture thing that they did, where everything you do feels like sort of a predetermined animation and you're just kind of pressing the button, instead of feeling as if I am actively in control of her movements. So those are my do's, don'ts, and hopes for Hellblade 3 now that we know that Ninja Theory is working on it. Given how long it took them to make Hellblade 2, this game is probably a ways away unless this decides to be a purely next-gen title and they skip this gen entirely. That might help. I know some of the things they tried to do with the game were pretty demanding, and Xbox had the Series S standing in the way, I think, of a lot of their games this generation, which I attribute a lot of the slow developments to that particular console. So those are just my thoughts on Hellblade 3. Be sure to leave a comment below or make sure you're here for the live streams so you can discuss it with me, which we're going to do that right now. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I hope you guys are well. The gaming news cycle is a little bit slow right now, so we have a fun day planned for you when there's not much going on. We take a look at the news cycle and we say, okay, well, what are people saying? What are people reacting to? And I've got some videos and things to watch with you to discuss, and the Naughty Dog one is one that I have not watched. Bellular put out a video that is making the rounds. I'm interested to see what he has to say. I really appreciate his coverage of things. I feel like he's usually very fair and very nuanced, and so we're going to be taking a look at that. We will also be taking a look at this situation with Bungie, with, you know, this GDC article that not came out. It's not an article, sorry. It is a video, and it basically makes them look a little foolish in light of what they decided to do with the portal. It looks like they have they've already known ahead of time what this was going to do to the game, and they went ahead and did it anyway. So not looking too good for them. So I've got some people to thank here. I'm having to get used to my new setup here. I've limited myself to one monitor and everything for the streaming rig, and now everything's on the other rig. So in Discord should be able to hear me now. I ran a wire this morning so that you guys should be able to hear me. I am here for the live stream. What's good, Alex? That's right. Make sure you're here for the live stream. Well, a lot of people come back later and watch the VOD, so I always want to make sure and say that, like, hey, make sure that you guys are here for the live streams. And make sure you're hitting that like button over there on YouTube. We're only about 8 minutes in, and that is super helpful. So the situation with Naughty Dog is interesting because we covered this a while ago, and I didn't really think there was anything to it. It was basically that they had done a limited amount of crunch. They also limited how long people could even do it. Like, if they were going to add hours to the given week, I don't think they could exceed a certain number of hours. So they even capped it, and it's already done. Like, they're not even presently doing it any longer. So I'm not quite sure what the video is going to entail, but it sounds like the attempt is to say that Intergalactic and the Heretic Prophet are in trouble, which, you know, it's not surprising that it's making the rounds. People don't like Naughty Dog for a variety of reasons, and I went into the Last of Us Part 2 with my own trepidation and my own concern, and I ended up really, really enjoying it. You know, I initially had fundamentally disagreed with their direction and story and what they had tried to do. I really did not like playing as Abby, but then the game kind of won me over in the end, and I saw, okay, this is actually a very brilliantly told story. Why are you red today? I'm just changing things up, man. Just trying out different colors and thumbnails and stuff, just so it doesn't always look like the exact same thing every day. Sometimes people are if I'm hitting your homepage, yeah, the shirt was a total accident, but if I'm hitting your homepage, I want you to know it's a new show every day, new topics, new things to discuss. I never want anybody thinking like, I'm pretty sure I watched that already. That's right, I've joined the Sith. I'm now on the dark side. That's really what I'm trying to tell you guys. So, yeah, the situation with Intergalactic and the Heretic Prophet, I don't necessarily think like a momentary crunch is going to make me think that the game is in trouble. So I'm interested to see what he has to say in the video. Red's better on the eyes. We've done blue, we've done green, we've done all sorts of things. So, name my puppy after Ellie. Red looking good, thank you. All the red makes the studio looks kind of scary. Well, good, you should be scared because the gaming world is in disarray. Hang on, I do have some people to thank though. I believe it was Noberto that resubbed. Yes, thank you so much, Noberto. Let's get this up and running here, and we got to reset the daily and then add one there for purple. We are right on pace. We need about 100 a day to unlock Madam on Friday night, so we appreciate you guys so much for doing that. And if you guys miss those Friday nights, they're excellent and they're fun, and it's her reacting to gaming news, and so we're calling it gaming news tonight. We do that on Fridays. Getting a Lono rant today then? I don't know if I'm going to end up ranting. I have not watched the video yet. So we also have one about Destiny and the Destiny 2 portal, and apparently Bungie knew ahead of time that it wasn't a good idea, which is interesting. I'm very curious to see what they said in the GDC. I think it's like GDC 2013, so it's pretty old footage, and we're going to take a look at that as well today. The Division, we don't have much to necessarily look at. I just was kind of surprised that they had opted to do a Division 1 Definitive Edition. That's a bit of a mouthful. Good morning, gangs. Good morning to you. Good morning to everybody that's here this morning. Hopefully you guys are having a good day. Make sure you're coming in and going through the ritual. Say good morning, spam an emote or two, and hit that like button. All those things help us out here. And if you guys have been enjoying, I am not enjoying this new mouse location. There we go. That's better. I would not let me grab. I need to turn off snapping in Windows. That's part of the problem. Is Twitter down? I wouldn't know. I'm not checking it right now. We're in an era of remasters and remakes. I don't know if that's true. I mean, I definitely think we've had a fair share of them, which I think is to be expected given some of the breakthroughs that we've seen with graphics. Like, imagine that you were working on a game. Like I watched a video this morning, and a lot of people are, and this is pertinent to Naughty Dog. A lot of people continue to say that like the PS5 generation has been very disappointing, and one of the things they always run to is, Naughty Dog hasn't done anything. And I'm like, okay, I think it's totally fair to be upset and frustrated with what they did, wasting time on The Last of Us Online or Factions or whatever you want to call it, and then it didn't come out. Like, I think that was probably slated to come out last year or this year, meaning you would have waited about 5 years for Naughty Dog to do something, which I think is a perfectly acceptable cadence. In the era that we're in now, if I wait 5 years for a game, I think that's perfectly acceptable. I do not expect these companies to be spitting out games every 2 to 4 years. I think that's unreasonable, especially if you want the games to be good. And I think people keep forgetting that literally at the buzzer of the PS4 generation, they delivered a Game of the Year winner. They delivered The Last of Us Part 2. And I just wonder if the expectation is completely out of line. That, like, I remember we were 3 years into the PS5 gen and people were giving Naughty Dog a hard time. They're like, where's your games? What are you doing? And it's like, they delivered a brand new game 3 years ago and it won Game of the Year. I'm not really sure what you expect. I mean, I think Insomniac's cadence maybe gives people a false notion of what's possible, just how quickly you can crank something out. The way that they had Spider-Man 1 and Miles and Ratchet and Spider-Man 2, I mean, that cadence is a little absurd. And we definitely know that like Ragnarok and Forbidden West, they came out pretty quick. I mean, they were sequels. But the notion that like Naughty Dog has somehow failed and then that means this gen is disappointing, even if they would have dropped The Last of Us Factions, it would not have changed the fact that like you're not going to get a mainline game from Naughty Dog that quickly. Because I don't think Factions would have felt like a mainline game. I think it would have felt like an offshoot live service game based on a game mode from The Last of Us Part 1. That obviously was surprisingly popular, I think, even to them. But I don't think anybody would have been like, oh man, it's very clear that, you know, the gen's now turning around because we got The Last of Us Online. If you want a new IP and you want it to be excellent, you want things, and this is something that we talked about yesterday. You know, we had somebody in Twitch chat saying that it feels like, you know, nobody's innovating, nobody's doing anything new. But then also it's like we want games to come out, you know, in less than 5 years. It's like, I don't know, man. If you want people innovating and doing really cool and creative stuff, you're probably going to have to wait. I mean, I'm not done with Control. Let's see. But I rolled credits last night. Yeah, I mean, like, as an example, Control released 7 years ago. Like, we're getting a sequel now. And they've obviously, the studio has done other things. But, again, sometimes you got to wait. Sometimes you can't expect games to come out at that cadence. I just think gamers need to decide what they want. You got to decide, do you want things to come out and be exciting and new and innovative, or do you want somebody to push something out ahead of time and for it to be buggy and glitchy, or just a copy, paste so that it doesn't feel like they really did much? I just read negative reviews from 3 sources about Code Violet. They're ranting the game big time. Yeah, because it's a terrible game. I mean, we've seen the footage, we've seen the user scores. It's bad. Why do people constantly talk about Naughty Dog not releasing anything, yet no one has said anything about the fact that Rare hasn't done anything since like 2018 and the Coalition since 2019, and it's a sequel? Right, and I think that that's totally fair. Like, if I want a studio to do good work and I wanted a studio to release something excellent, I expect them to take their time. I think this in general is where it's difficult sometimes to know, because I don't think the gaming community comes together and votes and has a consensus. So sometimes you just have people that are complaining for the sake of complaining. There are people that just are going to, give a brand a hard time because they don't like it. So they're going to be like, yeah, PlayStation sucks and Naughty Dog's lazy or whatever. But then you might have people that are mad that a game came out and wasn't ready. And these could be 2 completely different people. But what it ends up feeling like the gaming community is just completely schizophrenic. It's like, well, what on earth do you want? Do you want games to come out at quality, or do you want games to come out fast? Which is it? You Sea of Thieves 2018? Yeah, and I don't keep a ledger for every company and how long it takes them to do things, but I definitely think in general the long and short of it is, if you want a good game to come out, if you want a game to come out and be high quality, then you have to wait. You have to be willing to wait. I would have been willing to wait an entire other year for Jedi Survivor if it could have come out in much better state. Everybody would have played it at launch. It'd have a much better review score. It would have a better review score on PC. I would have been fine. Yeah, I'll wait a whole nother year. I don't care. Cheap, fast, quality, pick 2. Yeah, these are the 3 tenets of business. You got to pick 2. You can't pick all of them. I've been playing with a controller for 30 plus years, and I've never got the type of aim assist he got in that clip. I don't think it's hardcore cheating, but instead of Cronus Zim at play. Other PC users have chimed in and been able to replicate what he got. I believe it has something to do with controller on PC or something. I don't think he has any reason to run cheats in Arc Raiders on a live stream. I mean, come on. I just don't think so, man. I have pretty severe doubts that the man was like, you know what I'm going to do? After all these years of playing games like Fortnite and Apex and the like, I'm going to start running an aim assist cheat in Arc Raiders. Come on, dude. I don't think so. People have replicated it. I've seen clips. They're like, yeah, if you use a controller on PC, aim assist is a little wild. Lupo did it for chess. I mean, sure, and we still never got the full story there. There was a great breakdown of that. I mean, he never actually came out and yeah, that's a whole other story. To posture as if he apologized. He got in somebody's face about it once, that people accepted his apology, and I was like, what, your seventh one? Like it and even then there was a whole breakdown about how we still never got the full admission and never got the full story. Just move on, it's just kind of how the way it goes. But this just feels very different. If you step into another arena and you kind of want to show off how good you are at something, sure, but like Arc Raiders, like, I don't know. And it's not even like he's being accused of like walling or aimbotting. It's like aim assist. I have a hard time with Merc's thing, not because of ego, but because of money. This is not a Lupo situation. Merc's makes millions. Yeah, like he's at a level of, and also there's no money on the line. Like there's no money, there's no reputation, there's no ego. It's freaking Arc Raiders. Like, come on. It doesn't even make any sense. It's like he's not going to make any money. There's no ego in it. It's Arc Raiders. Like, I don't know if you saw, for some reason, Tfue got banned. Nobody really knows why, but Tfue got banned. And he was just running around popping heads. He also deleted the VOD. He deleted the VOD of the Arc Raiders thing? I don't know. I mean, he could explain that. You take that up with him. He might have reasons. He might have had an editor decide that they didn't want 1,000 clips, on the channel of that instance with the word, cheating on it. I don't know. It might not even have been him. He's got staff. Iron Hand says, hey, Lone, just want to say hi and still love your show. Thank you for 37 months, Iron Hand. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, you'd have to ask him. I don't know if he's spoken to, why the VOD was deleted. All I know is I saw at least 3 other clips on Twitter of people replicating a high degree of aim assist in the game with a controller. He said he leaked his phone number in the Twitch VOD. He cut it out of the YouTube VOD. Okay. Well, there you go. Can you read my last? Yeah, hang on a second. My chat's a little smaller than normal. This gen is giving me the perfect Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo minus the Switch. They aren't worth it on their own, but with back compat, they make great machines. Are you saying all of the consoles are worth it because of back compat? That's essentially what you're saying? I'm not sure I understand. I mean, that's very subjective to you. I've not done a ton of back compat. I mean, I've done very minimal, and even then, it can be rough. Like Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 on the Switch, that's not back compat. Those are ports, and I would say they're not very good. They're frustrating, man. The controls are not great. We were playing last night, and a lot of the same issues from Mario Galaxy 1 are rearing their head. And I'm like, man, this is so frustrating because it's such a good game, and they just didn't do any due diligence and, make it run all that well with respect to the controls. A couple of times last night, he just running in a circle, and Madam's laughing, and I'm like, babe, I can't even do that with the controller. Like if I tried to, like it's almost impossible. You know what you want to know what's not backwards compatible? Anthem. Now listen, that's harsh. Like we don't need to be unkind, okay? Like Fuzzy, come on. Like, it's 9:30 in the morning and you're out here being a jerk. It's a little early in the morning. My library is huge because of everything that's available. Yeah, I mean, everybody's different. I have an enormous library on my Xbox that I don't touch because I just don't have an interest in playing. I've got a backlog of new games. I don't feel like going back and playing like 360 and Xbox One games. Everybody's different. That's why I said it's kind of subjective. I mean, backwards compatibility is a huge win for certain people. For others, it's like, I don't know. It's nice. You're playing Galaxy on Switch 2. Yeah, they released them specifically for the Switch 2. You didn't see that? You might have missed that. Yeah, they released them. It was like a bundle deal or something. And we already beat Mario Galaxy 1 and Mario Galaxy 2. We're probably halfway through it. And Madam and I are having a great time. This is one of the earliest games that she and I played together on the Wii. And we're having a great time. It's just disappointing that they took two of the best games I think they've ever made. Once you get out of like the 64 era, I think Mario Galaxy 1 and 2 are two of the best Mario games they've ever made. And unfortunately, they didn't do a great job with the ports. So the better news is I finally finished High on Life a couple weeks ago. I went back and finished that one. I thought it was great from the beginning, and I just never went back to it. Really liked it. And then I rolled credits on Control, but I'm not done with Control. I'm very, very excited for the sequel. I forgot honestly, I think Control is better now than then. I don't know if it's maybe just the increased performance or what. Apparently, Tfue got banned for using console commands in the game to mess with visual settings. Oh, this is a big if, okay? If he did that, yeah, that's temporary suspension. That's not legitimate, and everybody knows it's not legitimate. It's a blatant exploit, and they're hitting people with 30-day suspensions, I believe, for doing that. Now, people are seeing the 30-day suspensions, and they're thinking that it's for cheating. There's a big difference between an aimbot and wall hacks and run some kind of console command so they can make the game look ridiculous and you can see like halfway across the map or something. No, yeah, I think you should get suspended for that. That's completely illegitimate. That's not... Come on, everybody knows that's not legit. You're going in and messing with settings in the game to make the game look like trash to give you a ridiculous advantage over other players. Sorry, you know what I mean? Like... What is, you know what I mean? Effing around, you're going to find out. You can't be doing that in a game like that, especially when you're killing other players and they're losing loot. Like, I think that's completely legitimate reason to give somebody a temporary suspension. You know, especially streamers, you know, you got to make examples of streamers. If they're going to go in, they're going to fiddle with settings and be like, hey, there's this exploit and that exploit. And they're going to spread it and show people how to do it and then do it. And then everyone's like, oh, look at that. You can see 100 yards further now and all of that. Yeah. I think that's fine. I don't know if 30 days is necessary. Timmy Soda, what's that? Rubit? I don't know what that is. Don't some competitive FPS players do that? Then why have the settings? What do you mean, why have the settings? They're not like going into the game settings and doing it, homie. They're have you, TJ, you might not know how this works, okay? Have you seen the videos on how to do this? They're not saying, like, go to your display settings and turn, like, fog off or something. Rubet, crypto's fastest growing casino. Oh, for frick's sake. Come on, man. Listen. This has nothing to do with gaming, but it kind of does, because we're all in the same gaming space, okay? I don't understand why men with generational wealth are taking contracts to promote gambling. I don't frickin' get it. It doesn't make an ounce of sense to me. Like, I get it, man. You get the bag. Get the bag. You got the bag. You got like 100 bags. Why you gotta be messing around with gambling? You got a young, impressionable audience, and you guys are out here taking contracts to go gamble. Man, oh man, it bothers me. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. As a dad, as a Christian, I'm like, what are we doing? You have so much money. Like, you got paper that makes you paper. Why? Jiminy Christmas. It's not my place to judge. They stand before whatever God they believe in, and they got to sleep at night. And if they can sleep at night, great. On 8,000 thread silk sheets, I'm sure. But like, money, gambling though. There's so many things you could get paid for. I frickin' hate it. I really do. I see what it does to like the poor parts of towns and stuff, and it's like, man, I don't know. I don't like it. The Russia making a ton of money is the only thing that replicates the Russia making a crap ton of money. Yeah, I guess. Good night. I just remember, even now I've turned down contracts with companies that I don't want to promote because I don't like what they do. Okay. And right now I'm in like the scrappy growing phase. I'm not where I once was. We all know what happened. When I was making very comfortable money in 2020 and halfway through 2019, I turned down so many deals because I was like, no, I'm not going to promote that. I didn't feel right about it. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do what I do, but I'm just like, I cannot imagine having that level of wealth and then promoting gambling to children. Like, what the heck are we doing, boys? DK Bager with a gift. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. 30 days is fine. You chose to do said action knowing it's cheating. Well, I'm of two minds, Dr. Pimp. If they established that you're not allowed to do it, okay, and you do it, ban them. Hit them with the 30-day, whatever. If they didn't establish it was against the rules, I think you hit them with a 24-hour and you say, listen, you were obviously exploiting. You know you were exploiting. Please don't do that. You hit him with a 24. To me, you see what I'm saying? Like, to me, it's like if it was in the rules and you clearly broke the rules, then yes, you hit Turner with the 30-day and say, brother, you knew what you were doing. If it wasn't clear and in the rules, I think you hit him with the 24-hour and you say, listen, you knew you were exploiting. You know this kind of thing's in a gray area. We don't want you doing it. You know, please cease and desist messing with these settings. What game? Arc Raiders. So Tfue came back to streaming. I've always liked Tfue. I knew him back when he was like running raids in Destiny without a shirt on and like setting records and stuff. He's always been a very, very good gamer, and he's always been nice to me. Back in the day when I was trying to get into shoutcasting and I was shoutcasting his stuff, he like promoted one of the videos on his feed and I got like a ton of views. He was always very kind to me, right? And I was always kind of in his corner because he had a lot of crap thrown his way and stuff that happened, and you know, I was always kind of pulling for him. And you know, so right now I'm just like, listen, if you knew this was against the rules and you did it, well then, I mean, yeah, there's got to be a consequence. Now, Embark's got a tough road ahead if they're going to start hitting streamers and people with 30-day bans for stuff that they have not established as cheating. Like, if they establish that it's cheating, then, you know, you got what you deserved. If they did not establish that they consider that cheating, I think they need to establish that going forward and hit people that are doing it with the 24. You warn them, you tell them to stop doing it, and then he'll stop doing it. That's not the kind of guy that he is. He's not going to stream doing something if the developers say we consider that cheating. He's not going to do it. I'm just saying, you knew it was an exploit. You knew it was a manipulation of the game's files in order to see and have visual advantages in the game. You know you're effing around, and you might find out. Like, I think 30 days is a little extreme, but, you know. And I also think there is a world of difference between running walls and, you know, running an aimbot and doing a weird exploit so that you can, like, see far. It's a selective conscience. Everyone virtues about something different, but when they do other dodgy things with no shame, yeah, I don't think messing with the console settings, or unless you're talking about the gambling thing, like, you know, I got the Ion Sputters today, so happy Raider, nice. Soft ban is fine, 24 hours or a shadow ban as they call it for 30 days is harsh. Oh, it ain't a shadow ban. He straight up booted up the game, and it's like, you're banned. It's temporary suspension for 30 days. I think it literally says it. Doesn't it say it in the image? Your account has been blocked due to violating terms of service. Now listen, they're saying it's according to the terms of service, which if it says in the terms of service, I can't make the text bigger for Twitch for some reason is smaller than YouTube today. It's tripping me out. Oh well, I'll get over it. Yeah, his official screenshot, or what's good feed, I see you in the chat, says that he broke terms of service. Listen, if they've got it in the terms of service that you're not allowed to fiddle with the game settings outside the game, then, you know, I feel like that's pretty standard in TOS now. If you're going to play an online game, you know that you can't go and fiddle with the game settings outside of the game in order to get, like, visual advantages. Like, is anybody, and that's what people are claiming. I don't know if that's what he did, but if that's what he did, I know a lot of people were doing it. There were plenty of streamers that I saw teaching people how to do it and streaming and talking about it. And they all said that it was like a sad day when it got stopped. That's what I don't understand. I thought they closed the loophole. I thought you couldn't do it anymore. At least that's what the one article I saw said. It said that they had shut it down. How did they do it if they shut it down? This is why I stopped playing multiplayer. Arc Raiders was my first shooter in 5 years, and even it isn't safe. My favorite typo in a long time. That would be one heck of a PC. What I don't know. What was a typo? Just let everybody know it's out of bounds. I mean, I've got two minds about this. Did anybody really need to be told? You know what I mean? Do you need told not to steal gum from the store? You know you're not supposed to. They don't need to, like, tell you when you come in, hey, now, don't you steal from here. Like, I kind of feel like, you're not supposed to be, poking around with game settings outside of the game in a game where you're playing PvP and it's, you can kill people and they can lose their loot. Like, you really need told, hey, don't go and fiddle with the game settings outside the game for visual advantages in the game. Like, you need told, like, come on. That's why I'm saying, like, hit him with a 24 and be like, yeah, don't do that, please. Yeah, I saw the rumors about a PSSR update coming. I wasn't going to. There's nothing to say yet. Once it's in the wild, and can be tested and do breakdowns and stuff, I'll talk about it. But there wasn't much to say other than we know it's coming, and now we're hearing between now and March it's going to show up. I don't know. You do get no shoplifting signs. Yeah, you also get you were being recorded. Like, come on. It got patched, but players found a workaround to get access to console commands. Peanut was talking about a command that lets you respawn with the same exact kit. Oh, for frick's sake. Wait, so let me get this straight. In the timeline here, was he doing it after they had patched it? Because then that's pretty clear. You got working knowledge they don't want you doing it. First day in the world, Lono, we have to tell people to not eat Tide Pods. This is true. We also have to tell them not to jump out of moving boats or they'll snap their necks. Like, that's, yeah. I don't know if this is real. Did y'all see this? I don't know if this is real, y'all. Hang on a minute. Hang on. My stuff's all messed up here. My screen's all messed up. There we go. I don't know if y'all saw this. What? So this guy says, after playing today, I can confidently say this is... He's saying his booty cheeks. You know what I'm saying? And now listen, this is the versatility of the English language. Like, you can be really excited about a nice booty, but then you can say something's booty, and it's the same word, completely different meaning. And he broke NDA. I mean, big time. This man played for almost 7 hours, and he's like, this thing sucks. And there were some other people that looked like I feel like I saw somebody else. I feel like I saw somebody else chime in and they're like, yeah, it's bad. Pouring out for Highguard, dude. I don't think it's going to make it. I don't think it's going to make it, y'all. I mean, they could delay. I think that's their only choice at this point. They got to go back to the drawing board. And when I say go back to the drawing board, they need to go to the people they got the money from and be like, listen, we're really sorry, but we ain't making that money back. Like... We appreciate your angel investment and your venture capitalist, intentions here, but we ain't making that money back, dude. They need to pull a Dave Chappelle. People who invested in this project, hear me. You will never get your fucking money back. Like, you are never getting your money back, dude. They got paid for the attempt. And like Chappelle said, he's like, I get paid for the attempt. Yeah, so do these guys. That game's not going anywhere, dude. Ain't no way. And public perception is already, That song has been written and completed, and it is done. That's all she wrote. There was a lady who thought it was a good idea to try and take a selfie with a shark. She lost both of her arms. I mean, I'm seeing videos where dudes are like messing with bears, and the next thing you know, they're running, and then the video cuts, and it's like, yeah, he died. Like, why would you mess with a bear? Like, what? A bear? I could see, like, yelling at a puma or a mountain lion or something. Even that's dangerous. They tend to run because they're easier to scare. They don't really want to fight. But a bear? A bear. Like, the toughest land animal on earth. And you're like, yeah, I'm going to tease this thing. Like, okay. All right. Let us know where to bury you. Yo, a month for Byron. I appreciate it, dude. Been a member for a month. Welcome back, dude. Welcome back. Let me add you to the total. I'm really only supposed to count member pluses. But when it's clear it's somebody who's not on a gift, I just don't like counting them twice because it gets confusing. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. That's what I'm saying. Like, people do stupid stuff. We know this. Human history is littered with stupid people. It's littered. It's littered with the bodies of stupid people that have done stupid things. But yeah, poor Highguard. And listen, how long we've been streaming? 41 minutes. 41 minutes. We've got a lot to react to today and do today, so settle in, hit the like button, chime in the chat. If you've seen anything in the news that you want me to talk about or commentate on, just let me know. Throw it in the question queue. The question queue is wide open right now. Unless you're going to pull a Butch Sundance and jump off a waterfall. Yeah. One bear versus 100 random men. Yeah, that ain't the same. That ain't the same, dude. I was 30 seconds behind, and I don't know why. A relative of mine, I was trying to watch a church service that they told me to check out, and it was live. And man, oh man, I was like, I really hope this is not the experience when people try to watch me. It just kept freezing. The only way I could watch it, I had to rewind 10 seconds. This was on YouTube. I was like, man, I really hope nobody has that experience when they try to watch me, because I was frustrated. I was kind of hoping it was their broadcast or something. I was like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. Bears in a different weight class. YouTube freezes all the time. Well, the ingest doesn't switch all that often. I would say once every 3 weeks, maybe. Also the latency. Well, I can get the same latency, but we've got to run normal for the ads, because it puts them in chat instead of on the screen. That's helpful to you guys. Unless they're not doing that. If they're not doing that, I'll go back to low latency because I know y'all liked it. Give me the too long didn't read on what happened with Highguard. Apparently people are willingly breaking NDA. I don't know who this guy is. This is bold right here. He's apparently a fan of Deadlock. He just straight up tweeted that he had played it for almost 7 hours. And he's like, yeah, it's trash. Now, obviously, this could be fake. I mean, it's been viewed 1.3 million times. I don't know. I mean, he's not sharing footage. He's not sharing screenshots. So is he... I don't really know. Obviously, he's giving his opinion, and so they could get him for that. You're not allowed to do that. You're not even allowed to say, hey, I have a review copy of this game, and it's really good. Like, they probably wouldn't really get you for that, but they'd be like, hey, you can't do that, and then you might not get anybody to work with you again because you're breaking NDA. Well, $5 super chat from Broken Earth. I blame modern medicine for the further proliferation of stupidity. We keep learning how to save the stupid ones. Yeah, but you see, hang on. I will gift a member. You got to have that kind of medicine, though. A lot of the times, the stupid ones are kids, and you got to save kids. Sometimes they fall out of a tree, or, they're playing with a firecracker or something stupid. You know how people be. I mean, they'll, how it goes. Some people, kids are stupid, so we need to save them. They're kids. Isn't the first rule of NDA that you don't talk about NDA? Well, no, I believe you're almost always, this isn't universal, but it's pretty universal. You are allowed to say, I have access to the game. I am currently under NDA. You're allowed to say that. You can tell people, hey, I'm going to drop my review for such and such a game on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then everybody knows when the embargo is. That you're allowed to do that. Now, sometimes they might tell you to not reveal the embargo date. I've never quite understood that restriction. That one's a little weird. But yeah, generally speaking, you're allowed to say you have review access and that you're under NDA. And a gifted member comes in from Joker Quinn. He's trying to stoke the fires here to get something going. Welcome on in, everybody. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you guys, we can get to 200 likes probably really quickly right here. Don't get me wrong, I'm playing it when it comes out, but I'm not dumb enough to ignore the temperature online about it. Whew, yeah. As one of the stupid kids who Modern Medicine has saved several times, I can say, if it didn't save me, it was likely my own fault. That's true. But, you know, a 10-year-old is a 10-year-old. You know, they'll do dumb stuff and get hurt. What's good, Bare Metal Gamer? How are you? Metal Matt's putting a farty bomb in chat. He's trying to manifest. I tell you what, we can manifest really easy is a 200 like count. That's easy. That's nothing. NDA is not the equivalent of is not the equivalent of I'm not at liberty to say. I think as you meant to say that is, yeah, that's essentially what it is. You're not at liberty to say. Code Violet isn't that bad. I mean, come on now, dude. Come on now, bro. We've all seen the footage. Okay? What do you mean it's not that bad? Compared to what? Like, what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to, like, Gollum or Kong? Like, what do you mean? Are you listen, if you're on the payroll, you just tell us. You just let us know. What are you doing for them? Come on, man. Ain't no way. What are you comparing it to? You've been playing it? Okay. Now, one of two things is going on. You haven't played games since, like, Coleco. I don't know. Maybe you've got really, really good weed. I don't know what you've got, but you're on another level than the rest of us if you think that game's not that bad. It's better than Redfall? Oh, I don't know about that. Redfall was bad. But that Code Violet game it's like barely running. I've seen some of the craziest glitches. Even paid actor wouldn't say that. I played Concord Beta so I can download High Guard. Yeah, it's a package deal. That's right. That's right. Yeah, if you played the Concord Beta, High Guard's already in your it's already in your library. I'm trying to pop my foot. Oh, there it is. You ever like rotate your foot like that and like the outside of your foot, that little bone right there gets like a real nice, like a pop. And if it won't do it, man, that hurts. That's like painful. I've been riding the bike, New Year's resolution and all that. And I feel like all my bones and stuff are like more limber and like I can get, I don't know, I can get more pops and like the good pops, you know, when you kind of like move your back and it's like pop, 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 like that. Interview with Haze Lights, Joseph Ferris says, I hope the publishers don't look at a game like Expedition 33 and think, oh, AA is the new thing, let's only do that. I don't believe in that. Well, I do. I actually think there's another side to the story there, though, that a lot of the big publishers could say, or even the big studios could say, hey, why don't we spin off a couple of projects and just kind of let them cook? Let's let some people make some things with passion. Like I said, let passion back into the room. That to me is key. And you don't, every company doesn't have to make like the biggest budget crazy title and then you're like, well, hopefully it does very well. If not, we're in big trouble. We have to lay people off. You know, play some smaller bets is what I'm saying. I heard it was made by 4 devs. Is that true? You heard what was made by 4 devs, Amskin. I'm not sure what you're talking about. I'll pay $10 for Code Violet, and that's asking too much. I mean, $10 is $10. That's what that studio is going to say. At this point, dude. All right, $10 is $10. Nobody's buying our game anymore. I hope Hollywood doesn't look at that popular low budget movie and stop making Avatar movies. Yeah, I think there's some merits to that. You think 4 people made Code Violet? It doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care. The way they conduct themselves as a business, they're a garbage company. So I don't care. I don't care if you have 4 people or 400 people. The way they've conducted themselves, they're a garbage company. They deserve everything that's happening to them, to their game. It's all deserved. It's just 4 brothers. Well, it's a family business. I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. If you're a small team and you got some bugs and some glitches, or you have to delay, or you got to leverage early access, okay, I'll be a little bit more charitable. But the way they conduct themselves, the way they promote their games, the way they gaslight and block people, they're all about, using social media to be toxic. What do? I mean, we don't need to rehash everything they did. They sent me a code for Quantum Error. That game was such a steaming pile of garbage, I thought, it's a small team. I don't want to do a review where I have to basically say it's bad from the very beginning. And they took it upon themselves to, engage in harassment on Twitter about it, And I'm like, that's not professional at all. I tried to pay you a courtesy. You know what I mean? And I told people, I said, the next time they do this and the next game that comes out, you watch. It'll be another piece of crap. And that's exactly what happened. They hoped everybody forgot about Quantum Error, the game that they still haven't fixed and addressed all the problems with it. And then they push out this game where they're trying to do I guess they were trying to do the Gunnar Stellar Blade thing, thinking that would get them a bunch of copies. And then it somehow was at the top of most anticipated lists because of wish listing or something. It was above Resident Evil. Now, there were people that were saying it was at the top of their pre-order page, but somebody pointed out, if you pre-order the game, it'll be at the top if it's the most recent release. And so that they were using that to mislead people as well. They're misleading the public about how popular their game was, how many people had pre-ordered, how many people had wish listed. I'm supposed to believe more people are wishlisting that game than Resident Evil. Sure. Yeah, I'd bet. Yeah. A long-running franchise from Capcom is getting out-wishlisted, out-pre-ordered by Code Violet. Uh-huh. Yeah. They're just another garbage developer that creates a game and all this smoke and all this misleading tactics, just like the day before did, and they try to convince a bunch of people to buy their game. They conveniently do it on a platform where it's really hard to get refunds. Do you know what would happen to them if they did this on PC? They'd be sitting just like the guys from the day before. They'd have nothing. They'd have nothing because everybody would get a refund. That's what would happen. I had it wishlisted because it looked like a Dino Crisis. I'm not saying people didn't wishlist it. There is no way that game is more wishlisted than Resident Evil 9. There ain't no way. There's no way. There's no way. They don't have the marketing budget to do that. You can't even get the game in front of enough people to do that. There's no way. They asset flip, misconstrue, lie, and eventually ship nonsense. They aren't scrappy underdogs. They're snake oil salesmen. That's exactly right. They don't deserve pity or charity because they're a small dev team. They're an insult to small dev teams everywhere that work hard and deliver excellence. They don't work hard. They deliver crap. And they're dishonest and they attack people. They deserve everything that's happening to them. They ought to be run out of the industry at this point. Nobody should be buying their games or paying any attention to them. They blocked half of dadgum Twitter. What's a Resident Evil? Yeah, exactly. This is exactly why we should be able to refund games on console. Because companies like this would get eviscerated. They wouldn't have a penny to buy lunch. They'd be done. People would be like, this is trash, and they'd get their money back. Every time. Every time. This is exactly why we need to be able to. We are not properly protected as consumers. We aren't. And my logic on this is simple, and I'll never change my position. The ease with which you purchase something digitally, it should be just as easy to refund it. If I click buy and then checkout, I should be able to click refund and checkout. Just like that. 2 clicks. That's all it should take. Steam is the best we got, and even I think their process should be streamlined. I shouldn't have to go to a help page and submit a ticket. No, I bought it, I should be able to refund it. You say you're a storefront, act like a storefront. I don't got to go to the Target to some special place to return something. I walk in, there's a counter right there with a register. Take it back. I don't want it. That's how it should operate. Steam's the best we got. I think every single digital storefront should behave that way. I think it should be enforced. That way, consumers are properly protected from this garbage. Coffee came in yesterday. This morning was 100 times better. Hey, TaylorMade, I appreciate that. Guys, don't forget, if you go to reforgeroast.com, it's not a sponsor. That's ours. Okay, that's our coffee. We got our medium roast and light roast on sale for $10.95 a bag. That's down from like $15, $16 a bag. We're working our way through the inventory, and you guys can benefit. I know everything's more expensive right now. Well, our coffee isn't, so I'm all for Gooner bait, but Code Violet looked especially crappy, so no thanks. It's not the first game, Hex, that has tried this. There was another game on Steam, I forget the name of it, and they clearly took a bite out of Stellar Blade, and it did terribly because that's all they had to offer was a sexy character. The gameplay was not good, and it got bad reviews, and I don't even remember the name of it. That's kind of how it should work, like out of the frame. Out of thought, out of mind. Like, okay, cool, bye. No one cares. No one cares about you and your game when you do that. Now, if you leverage early access and you develop a healthy relationship with the community, then by all means, launch a game that needs to be, improved and worked on. That's totally fine. That's full disclosure. People know what they're buying. That's completely legitimate and completely fair. Consoles are not there. Now, somebody left a comment on my YouTube video about this because I said, I would love to see the platforms. I know Xbox does some early access, not nearly as much as Steam. PlayStation does almost none. I think we've had, one maybe? They don't do enough. And someone's like, well, there's all this red tape. And I'm like, okay, who makes the red tape? I mean, it's not like there's somebody coming out of left field creating red tape. It's PlayStation's own platform. They're literally holding the red tape gun. Like, they could get rid of some of that red tape and have an early access program. Start small with developers you trust or have a good relationship with. If they've got dev kits, if they've made good games in the past, and they want to leverage early access, do it. Let them do it. I think there's room for that in the console world. I do. You don't have to I think you're limiting yourself. Why would you limit yourself to that degree? You've got so many studios out there that would probably enjoy doing early access on your platform. But the only place they can really do it efficiently is Steam. If you're looking at the future and you're looking at the future of gaming and the agility of development and having a good relationship with the public, I think that's a really, really great way. I think Steam's really cornered the market on that. I think and this is one of the reasons why, if you run into somebody who's been using Steam for a really long time, brother, they go hard for Steam. Like, they will defend Steam to the death. Because why? It's because of how they treat them. They feel like kings. They get early access. They get demos. They can refund something if it's a pile of crap. They get a really great bead and barometer on a game's quality from the review system. They have to verify every update. That's a ton more work. Why? Do they have to do that on Steam? Right? I'm genuinely asking. I actually don't know how it works, Zubair. So if somebody pushes out an update to their early access game on Steam, does Steam have to do some kind of a verification on it? Now, I'm assuming the pushback and what you're going to say is, well, they have to protect the ecosystem. They can't have somebody making an early access game that basically allows you to jailbreak the PlayStation, right? I'm assuming that would be the concern, which is why if you've got a working relationship with a trusted developer, I mean, I guess that could happen, but that seems unlikely. Which game will be worse? Concord, Mind's Eye, Code Violet, Highguard. They're all bad in their own way. Mind's Eye was a glitchy, buggy mess. Concord wasn't glitchy or buggy. Nobody wanted to play it. Code Violet's kind of a mix of both. Highguard looks like it's going to run perfectly fine. I mean, it looks like it's going to be another polished game that everyone shrugs at. Everyone's going to they'll play it for an afternoon, then they'll put it down. The horses were cool. Like, that'll be about all you hear. Again, that's just a prediction that I'm making. I think they do now. Early access is much closer monitored than it used to be. Steam doesn't verify anything. You're on your own. It's a wild, wild west out there, right? So I get that PlayStation has to protect. I do. That's fine. You got to protect yourself. You can't establish a working relationship with some developer that you trust to do early access with? You can't get like a working relationship where they have the dev kit. Maybe they've even got like a liaison at PlayStation and a contact they can talk with. I don't know. If I'm PlayStation and I'm thinking about the content battle that's coming, and we all know that it's coming, because they're going to be trying to scoop up anybody they can to prioritize their platform. Look at what they're doing with China Hero. They're establishing a relationship with Chinese developers who develop for both PC and console. You want to keep those developers happy. You don't want them feeling like, hey, for our next project, we really thought we would leverage early access, and PlayStation's like, yeah, we're out. We can't do that. It's like, well, what are you doing? You've got a working relationship. You know? You got these games coming out for China Hero and their PC and their PlayStation at launch. Lost Soul Aside's a great example. Lost Soul Aside would have been a great candidate for early access. They could have fixed a lot of that game's problems. It could have had much better reception. And instead, they launched it as a full price, full launch game. It clearly wasn't ready, and then everybody's mad. And then it has a bad score, and that's kind of all she wrote. Like, it's hard to go back in time on that. It's like, well, yeah, there you go. That's that, you know. Good morning, Lono in chat. I'm one of the 11.5 people that loved Concord. I'm still mad it got shut down, but used to refund to buy Cyberpunk, so it worked for me. I haven't been on YouTube much. Why have you changed your background to red, or am I colorblind? I changed it to red because I'm freaking mad at you. Why haven't you been here? This is for you. I did this for you. I was like, I'm doing this for Just James 93X. That son of a... No, I'm just kidding. We're just changing it up. You know, same color every day, same thumbnail every day. I want people to see me in their feed and be like, oh, it's a new show. Something new's going on, you know. Embrace the hate. That's right. I'm about to turn heel. It's close. And everybody that's ever crossed me should be scared. I'm kidding. Anybody that's ever put me in their content or their thumbnails, I'm coming for you to say thank you. No, I'm just kidding around. I don't have the second camera on today either. I'm testing some theories on like some of the weird, you know, stutters that I get in OBS. It's a Windows thing. That's what I've determined. So, finally in his bad B era, you love to see it. I mean, if I were to ever, I don't know, you know, if in 7 years I retire, that might be around the time I decide to blow everybody's spot up and be like, all right, let me tell you the real stories now. Yeah, it's been 7 years. I'm quitting. People are like, that was a wild stream. You know, I come back the next day. I'm just kidding, y'all. I'm going to keep streaming. 10 minutes go by and people be like, wait, wasn't he red before? Yeah, it's always been red. That's the real trick. You guys just thought it was blue. Sony does have certain games they allow in early access, PoE 2. Yeah. Just there's been a couple. Very, very few. Xbox has done way more. And then Steam has an ocean of early access games. You know? I can already see F it, do it live. We get to 750 this week, you retire and tell us stories. Look at my last chat. 10 minutes go by and you say, wait, it wasn't read before. Jack, did you just make me reread that? Are you serious? Are you serious? Use that effect where the color slowly changes? It doesn't work. At least I don't think. I don't know which control I'm supposed to do. Fade? Fade 7? I thought about that. Oh yeah, it's just going to constantly change now. That's kind of annoying. Can I slow that down? That's too fast. Yeah, now I feel like I'm like in a window at like a storefront, you know, where the lights keep changing and like there's a little spinner with like a glass cube on it. No. I don't like that. We're going back to the dark side. Is that purple? Yeah, there's a purple. You can do purple. Shirt matches the background though. It does. I've got like something over here. Can I request rainbow puke? I'll just put on strobe. Everyone leaves. They're like, it was a great stream until he's turned the strobe light on. Nobody could watch. It was painful. It's changing too fast. Yeah, if it was so slow that you almost didn't notice it, that'd be fine. You know? You mean the tobacco shop? I don't even know. It was just changing too fast. I felt like I was down on like a strip of stores behind glass or something. Keep it red matches the epic shirt. I didn't even think about that. I'm gonna start matching the colors to my shirt. You know? That's what we'll do. I just think it's partly because people see Steam and PlayStation differently. Steam is full of garbage games, and people say they're an open platform. If PlayStation was full of early access slop, people wouldn't like it. But, right, that's what I'm saying. Listen, I choose my words very carefully, right? I didn't say open up the early access floodgates. So every little fishing game, pixel art, game that never gets its second patch can suddenly come to the PlayStation Store. I'm saying you have developers that you have good relationships with, and if they wanted to leverage early access and you trust them and you've got like this working thing, then let them do it. I mean, it would be very selective. You know what I mean? You were supposed to defeat the dark side, not join them? Sorry. Is Lono comparing himself to ladies in the red light district? Yeah, I guess. That's the path we're on now. Start the clock. He'll have an OnlyFans by the end of the year. I'm kidding. That is the current system. It's very selective. Okay. It's very, very selective. Yeah, okay. Well, maybe be a little bit, more open. I don't know. I'm just saying, if they're trying to break into other markets, especially the Chinese market, they're going to have to be a little bit more open to some of that. You can't have like one or two. You know what I mean? Pales in comparison to the amount on Steam. Yeah, I certainly don't want to open up the PlayStation Store and be like, oh, what new games came out today? Oh, 78. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want that. That can become almost too much. It's like, oh my gosh, and you can't find anything, especially if it's in, you get into early access, you can really get into games that, aren't really worth your time. So, I think it's fair to be more selective and more limited. As long as the the consumer is protected and so is the console. You don't want to do something for the sake of doing it, and then it becomes destructive and unhelpful. You're preaching to the choir. I think early access is great for polishing games, but your audience needs to know what to expect from early access, for sure. Lono is Red Hulk today. Don't get him angry. This is correct. Thank you guys for 200 likes. I tell you what, we are about an hour into the show. Okay. So there's plenty to react to and plenty to talk about. And I wanted to react to Bellular's video first because I've not watched it. Okay? I've not watched it. I like Bellular's stuff. I watch a lot of his videos. And he talked about Naughty Dog. And the conclusion seems to be, because he's not, the video has been reacted to. I believe Asmongold has reacted to it as well. And the conclusion seems to be studios in trouble, games in trouble. Right? And I'm not sure I'm going to agree. Okay? I'm not sure I'm going to agree. So, make sure you guys have your memberships up and running. Make sure your primes are up and running. Make sure you're doing all that. Help us with our weekly goal. It's a slow start on a Tuesday, but we had a good Monday. So let me get this set up here and make sure our audio is good. Does he have no sound for the opening? No, I legit have no... Hang on. I don't have audio from my PC right now. Give me 1 second. I didn't change anything. Okay. Properties. Is there another microphone? Digital audio interface. Headset microphone. Well... What did Windows do to my stuff? Recording. Properties. Okay. Oh, I know what probably happened. It's probably on the gaming rig itself. Playback switched. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yep, okay, we're good. I fixed it. Yo, Ward Huff comes back in with a member plus. Let me add it to the total. All right, here we go. Here we go. So we're hearing that Intergalactic and the Heretic Prophet and Naughty Dog are in trouble or something's bad, right? I'm going to watch a Bellular video. Always remember to support the original creators. We always wait a couple of days for a video to be on the platform before we react to it, but I saw this one making the rounds, and I wanted to react to it because I really like Bellular. Let's see what he says.
On a commemorative coin that they gave to their staff.
Here we go. Let's start over.
The suffering of generations must be endured to achieve our divine end. That is from the reveal trailer for Naughty Dog's next game. It's called Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, and they printed this on a commemorative coin that they gave to their staff for 2025. And do you know what's really funny about this? It's not just a game thing, it's pretty much actually true, because functionally, that is the work ethic of Naughty Dog's leadership. And what we're going to dive into today is all of the reporting around just how much of a disaster it seems their internal game development has been.
I'm really shocked that this is how he's opening the video. That from Bellular especially, like, this feels very charged, like the language he's using. Like, I don't know. Like, I watch a lot of his content. I feel like I read all the stuff about Naughty Dog and the crunch that is already over, and it was very limited. They wouldn't let people work beyond a certain amount anyway. To say that it's a disaster and that this is the ethic, this is the work ethic of the leadership that people are going to suffer, like, that is... that's pretty charged. So we're going to keep watching. I'll add all the members after we're done watching this, y'all.
You see, they just put their staff through nearly 2 months of big crunch, all to deliver an internal demo. And the thing is, the full game isn't even planned to release for years, which just makes us think, hang on a second. Are you basically going to be crunching for years upon years to make any of this happen? You see, for years we've heard hell stories about Naughty Dog, basically them just throwing bodies at the problem and burning through their staff. Well, doesn't seem like much has changed. In March 2020, The Last of Us Part 2 was getting ready for release after loads and loads of delays. Back at the time, Jason Schreier was working for Kotaku and he dropped this bombshell report. And I really do mean bombshell. In it, we learned that Naughty Dog was crunching, and crunching hard. Staff were describing 12-hour days and weekend work, pretty much going on and on and on for a long-ass time, the sort of thing that we in the industry would call a death march. And it was all in service of getting the game ready at absolutely any cost. But to make things even worse, Jason's report wasn't just about The Last of Us Part 2. It actually revealed that this crunch stuff was going on as far back as 2016's Uncharted 4. Now that's a
Yeah, and this is obviously something that you don't want to see. I actually totally agree with this. Like, we've heard from many companies that the problem isn't just crunch. There are windows of time where, yes, you're going to work longer, or yes, you're going to have to work a weekend or something. Typically, though, crunch goes away. And the problem in the industry was that crunch wasn't going away. And this is what we refer to as crunch culture. It's one thing when a project is close, or like what they did at Naughty Dog recently. They're like, we have to get this demo ready. PlayStation wants a demo. For the next 2 months, we're going to dig in. And they really limited how much people could even do overtime. It was mandatory overtime, but they were not allowed to go past a certain threshold. It was basically like an extra shift. Okay, we went and looked at the numbers. It was not that extreme. I really wish he would have put that in this video. Maybe he will eventually, but that should have been there on the front end, because to me, compared to what we heard in the past, what I read in the most recent report was not what we talked about in the past. Crunch culture is bad because it's bad for the employees. Number one, that's your first priority. You don't want to treat your people like garbage. And secondly, it's bad for the product. You get bad work out of people. You get sloppy work. It's not helpful. So it's bad on two fronts. And I didn't see any evidence of crunch culture. I saw evidence of very controlled and very limited crunch for a particular project. We've all been on projects and jobs where that happens. Like, we've all been there, and it's usually very limited. The problem in the industry was that it didn't stop, and that's why people started complaining.
A game that Neil Druckmann, the co-director, kind of darkly described as a reflection on the drive that leads many people in game development to crunch, which is of course rather easy to say when, you're kind of the boss. Now, to make this sort of thing relevant to like you and me, I just have it in my head. What's been going on with Naughty Dog? Why has their output kind of decreased over time? Why has a lot of it been like remakes, remasters, that kind of thing?
And if you're going to say that, really walk through the timeline then, because they dropped a Game of the Year winner at the buzzer of the PS4 gen in 2020. So literally in 2020, they drop a Game of the Year winner. And yes, we were supposed to get The Last of Us Online. That was supposed to keep their cadence at a steady pace of like every 5 years or so. That's the cadence that we're in now. You cannot expect the cadence we got back in the day when they were cranking out games every 3 years. We're not in that time anymore. Developers are consistently talking about this. I don't know why Naughty Dog is in a different category. I don't know why they're held to a cadence of delivery that like nobody else is. Plenty of developers have been nosed down for years because it takes a long time in our current ethos to make games and to make them big and to push graphics and to really make them excellent. You're not getting games every 3 years anymore. You just aren't. 5 or more is pretty much standard for big companies and big projects. And if game companies go that route, there's greater risk. We know this because then the game has to sell very well. It's very expensive when a game, development timeline takes that long. But to summarize what they've done is, lots of remakes and remasters. If you actually look at the timeline and how many things they've released, yes, we're missing one game, basically. We're missing The Last of Us Online. At the very, very end of PS4 gen, they delivered The Last of Us Part 2, and now we're all waiting on Intergalactic. I believe Online for Last of Us was supposed to get us through this period, and we know what happened. They decided not to ship it because Bungie basically opened their eyes. It's like, well, do you want to become a live service studio, because that's what it's going to take to keep a game like this alive.
I have to wonder if they've just lost a lot of their staff because they've ended up being a bit of a shit place to work. Now, at least after that report went out, it seemed leadership kind of understood the problem. They said that they wanted to improve things after 2020, basically between the shift to remote work and the abuse that staff suffered during the launch window leaks. And by 2022, sources actually told Jason Schreier that a freshly implemented production team had actually improved things for the company. For a bit of a quote on that, well, in 2024, the QA lead Patrick Gross explained in a documentary how things had changed. Though obviously, given the existence of this video, I'm not too sure how it went. Here's what he said. When we onboard people, we tell them we have a reputation as a studio for crunching, and it's something that we don't want, and it's something we're not going to do anymore. I hate to shock you, but the reports are that they are in fact doing it again. And in this case, it is down to pressure. And that's because by the end of 2025, Naughty Dog were under severe pressure. Look, if you don't want to code or you're not into games, skip this, but if not, then I have got something for you, and that is boot.dev/.
Okay, so he's going to do an ad placement. That's fine. Here's the thing. I don't know if the context of that guy saying, hey, you've heard we're known for crunch, we don't do that anymore, was he saying we never ever will require you to crunch, or was he saying we don't do crunch the way that we were doing it? Because every studio is going to have times where you have to do a double shift and extra hours. That's unavoidable. I really, truly don't think that that's an expectation of any studio anywhere, that they're never, ever, ever going to require you to put on a couple extra shifts or something. It was 2 months. It was 2 months, and they would not allow people to exceed a certain number of hours. Like, to act as if they went back on their word and they're now causing people to, you know, to crunch like they used to. There's no evidence of that. And I think we should be very careful when reporting on this sort of thing to accurately portray what happened. If he's not actually going to go into the details of what crunch happened, I'm very, very disappointed that that's not a part of the video. So I'm willing to hope that that's somewhere here, because that should be included.
We'll refund you on the spot. What we're talking about today, then, is 7 weeks of mandatory and seemingly unpaid overtime for Naughty Dog staff that ended just before Christmas.
Careful wording there, seemingly not paid for or seemingly unpaid. Again, we don't know. Yes, if they're all on salary, it's unpaid. You come in, you put in extra hours, you're not going to get paid extra, right? If you're hourly, then of course you're paid. Like, we don't know what the details were, but it was 7 weeks, as he said.
So, the team found themselves crunching again, even though we had all of this PR-ish stuff saying that, oh no, we don't do that sort of thing anymore. Now, this is an allegation that's coming from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, and in his report, he cites people working on Intergalactic. And as for what was demanded of them, well, it was at a minimum 8 hours of extra log development time per week, all in office, and that this was overriding their previous 3-day per week policy. That's 3 days of having to work physically in the office. Now, obviously, if you're working 8 hours more a week and you're not being paid for those 8 hours, I think something's going fairly wrong. Now, what's on surface level weird, but I think is not surprising, is that in theory, leadership had actually placed guardrails on this sort of thing, trying to prevent it from happening. But in practice, well, they were telling staff they shouldn't work for more than 60 hours total each week.
Okay, this is what I've always come to expect from Bellular. I'm glad that this is in here, because I think this really contextualizes what happened. It was 7 weeks. You were not allowed to exceed 60 hours. Listen, lots of people are working well more than that every single week, whether you work for yourself or you work construction or you're working 2 jobs or whatever. Many people are clocking more than 60 a week. Okay, this was not crunch of the past. So I am very glad that this is in here, because this is what I expect. This is why I like watching Bellular's content, because he gives you the whole picture. Because the way the video opened, I felt like, I really don't think that's what I read. I did not read that, you know, they were making their people to suffer once again and they were going back on their word. This felt like a very, very minimal amount, and that honestly, they did it with one thing in mind, and now they're done. It's not like, well, you know, you guys are already clocking 60 hours a week. Let's just keep doing that for the next couple of years, which is what was happening in the past.
Obviously, that's quite a lot. So basically, staff had to end up threading a needle here. They had to meet management's demands without making management look bad on the actual official logs. You know, do a whole bunch of crunch, but make sure that your actual logs cover your boss's ass. See?
Come on. That you can't project that kind of thing into the story. I don't agree with that. What? So now we're going to insinuate that they were working more than 60 but not logging their hours? Like, come on. There's just, that's not, this feels very, very forced. I'm sorry. This is not, all we have are 7 weeks, can't exceed 60, and now we're imagining that people were going beyond that and not logging their hours. I mean, listen. I will be the first to criticize the company if that was going on. If they were like, hey, keep it on the low. I need you to hit 80 hours this week, but only log 60, right? If they're abusing their employees and they're doing all this shady stuff and that becomes known and that gets reported on, I'll be the first to criticize them. But we can't speculate on that. That doesn't feel fair at all, given what we know. We know very little in this situation, and it was a very, very short period of time.
Seems sketchy. Now, we currently understand that the crunch period has actually ended and that they successfully completed the demo before Christmas, meaning they can return to basically normal work, including doing 3 days in the office as of January.
Which so many companies aren't doing. Again, I think that speaks well of the change at the company. A lot of companies, you guys have seen the reports, once they get you to come back to the office, they don't let you stop. They're like, yeah, well, we're just going to keep doing this. So the fact that they've gone back to their standard requirement of 3 days in the office a week, they didn't say, yeah, well, you know, you've been coming in, so we're just going to keep doing it. A ton of tech companies have done that to the chagrin of their employees. And so, I mean, I think they deserve some credit there. It's like they could have said, hey, that was really productive. We want you back in the office more than that every single week, because people don't want to return to the office. We know this.
Given that this sort of thing happened for an internal demo, so not the sort of thing you should need to crunch out, people are kind of worrying. And by worrying, well, I have a quote. They are wondering if overtime requirements will get worse later in the development cycle. Do you really have to wonder? I think we all know that's going to happen. I mean, if the past is even a slight indicator with this company, it's absolutely going to happen.
Yeah, it will. It will. I think this is the standard in the industry. That's not the problem. The problem was never, hey guys, we're 2 months out, we got a crunch. The problem was it was constant after that. It became the way the studio ran. That's why it was referred to as crunch culture. I think this can get very quickly revisionist here. We can't be doing like revisionist history. The problem wasn't crunch. Crunch happens in these types of industries where you're trying to meet a project deadline. That is not unusual, okay? Crunch culture is what we took issue with. It was a culture of, this is just what we do now. This is just what's expected of you. And that was the problem. The problem was not, oh, we've got a deadline, you got to put extra shifts in for the next month or two. It was, well, we're just going to keep doing that because we got so much productivity out of you. That's what people took issue with.
Because, you see, this stuff was not about the release of the game. That's not what they were crunching for. The game isn't even expected until mid-2027. Let's place bets on whether that'll happen or not. It's not currently some Last of Us Part 2 scenario. What this was all about was crunching a demo because of the internal pressure that Naughty Dog have been facing. And this is where I have another quote from Jason's report. This overtime period was an attempt to get the production back on track after several missed deadlines. And if you've been keeping...
Which, again, we got to read between the lines here. If they're missing deadlines and then they finally do some crunch, what does that tell you? It tells you that that's not their first instinct. It tells you that they are not doing crunch as a reflex, as a, well, we missed the deadline, time to crunch. Like, again, if you read this in its entirety and you really take it at what has been said to us, it's like they missed a bunch of deadlines and now they're like, listen, we got to crunch to get this one. We've missed too many. So to presume from this, they're just, oh yeah, they're just going to do crunch again in the future, it's going to be terrible. It's like, clearly that's not their instinct. Their instinct is not to immediately do crunch. If that were the case, they probably wouldn't have missed these deadlines. They'd have been like, well, hey, we missed one, we're not missing any more, it's time to crunch. Again, I don't know. The more I read this, the more I thought, this is not the story that people are making this out to be. This has been severely exaggerated. And I'm being told, do you notice that he said it was before Christmas? All SIE companies had a year-end shutdown, which is over a week of paid time off. Right, like they got this done right before they could take their break, which is something that lots of people don't get, like a bunch of time paid off for the holidays. I bet you everybody in here, a lot of you working men would have loved that, right? Like that'd have been great, wouldn't it have? Like, I'd crunch for two months for 7 weeks if I'm gonna get an entire week off for Christmas, a paid week off for Christmas. Give me a break. I'd have done that in a heartbeat back in the day when I was working for the man.
Up with what's going on at Sony, you'll know that there's probably quite a threat looming over the studio. This crunch was about shipping a demo for PlayStation. Now, milestone reviews are perfectly standard, and in non-first-party games, they're usually how you unlock your next stage of funding. So, you hit a milestone, you get your money. And this basically allows for feedback, course correction, and it lets publishers protect their money if development is completely going wrong. But if several missed deadlines, which is a direct quote from Jason's reporting, have already passed, then that does suggest something has gone deeply wrong at Naughty Dog. And
no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That is not what that indicates. That indicates normal development timelines. That is 100% normal in development. Talk to any developer. Missed deadlines is quite literally the most common thing that happens. That is not a sign that something deeply wrong has happened. That is so presumptive. Like, this to me is a very odd video from Bellular. I'm like, that's not what that indicates. You talk to any developer, missed deadlines, that's like a Tuesday at the office that they didn't hit a deadline. Go watch any of Laura Fryer's videos. This is super common in the industry. This is not a sign that something deeply wrong has happened. We have no evidence of that at all. Missed deadlines is not evidence of that. It's only evidence of a missed deadline. You don't know why. You don't know the cause. It could have been a simple change of direction that delayed the implementation of something and pushed things back. And that change in direction doesn't mean there's something deeply wrong. It just means they changed something or had a new idea or changed story elements. Like, these are the things that can make you miss deadlines. It doesn't mean there's something deeply wrong with the title. I completely think that is a very quick jump of presumption.
Has gone wrong at the worst possible time. And that's because right now, PlayStation are out for blood and efficiency. You see, in their 2024 business segment reports, Herman Hulst explained that they had, and I'll now go to a quote from the man himself, changed the way we support studios through central services, greater operational rigor, which, by the way, if you're at one of those studios, is what we call a veiled threat, but also, probably wise. But to go back to Herman, a much more intentional top-down approach to portfolio, increased oversight of our development processes, and he goes on and stuff, but you can basically understand that it's all in service of reducing costs, keeping their budgets on track, and, quote, balancing profit potential with associated risks. Not having another Concord, basically. This is why 2 unannounced live service games at Bluepoint and Bend were cancelled in early 2025. Now, the timing here is actually real important. Early 2025 is before Concord goes and lights itself on fire and dies. So even before Concord imploded, PlayStation had already decided they were trying to get their risk in order. And by that time, we'd already had plenty of evidence. They'd laid off 8% of their employees globally, and they closed down London studios in early 2024. That's all stuff that can't be blamed on Concord, and those layoffs also did impact Naughty Dog. All of that feeds into this story. I mean, if Naughty Dog aren't immune to layoffs, which we already know they're not, and they've missed several deadlines, which reports say that they have, well, would they be immune to having a game cancelled? Now, PlayStation have shown that...
Yeah, I think everything he just walked through is standard practice in the wake of the overhiring of 2020 and 2021. The entire tech sector is doing this. The entire gaming sector is doing this. None of this is a sign of trouble at the studios or signs of trouble at PlayStation. This is an industry-wide thing, and theirs was minimal compared to many of the other layoffs and many of the other downsizings that happened. It's terrible. It sucks, but it's the reality. It's not evidence of problems at the company or that their game is in jeopardy of being canceled. And again, they voluntarily opted to not do The Last of Us Online. They came out and literally said, we would have needed to become a live service studio, so we opted basically to cancel the project. That was something that Naughty Dog chose to do, not PlayStation. I think it was the right choice. That's not what they're known for. The biggest lesson that PlayStation learned from all of this is you should not have single-player studios trying to build live service games. That's not their core competency. Stick to what you know. Stick to what you're good at. You can't have this, decades of experience making these amazing single-player games and just suddenly figure out live service.
Say with Marathon, they're willing to throw money at a project if they really have to, but a game like Intergalactic, well, that's over a year away. And if Naughty Dog had already missed several milestones, maybe this increased scrutiny could have pushed them back to their old habits, back to the crunch that arguably gutted a lot of that studio's power, maybe even leading them to the stage where they're struggling to hit their targets. And of course, all of this is especially the case because the studio's leadership has actually been changing. And I think it all basically means big alarm bells are ringing. Since 2023, Neil Druckmann has been studio head and head of creative at Naughty Dog, leading a revamped team right as Intergalactic production was kicking off. But he actually wasn't working on Intergalactic full-time. His attention had been split between developing The Last of Us TV show, which of course is something the PlayStation have been very happy to support given, game sales, awards, and remember, those game sales aren't for super old versions of the game. No, they're for the brand new remasters that are still selling for quite a lot of money. So that was going on. But then in September, he actually announced he was returning to Naughty Dog before the filming of season 3 of the TV show. Basically, he said he'd been removed from day-to-day work and that other leaders had stepped up while he was focusing on the show. We then see, a month later, the Naughty Dog would begin crunching their staff to hit the demo deadline. Now, obviously,
again, there's such a simple explanation here. They brought him back because they had been missing deadlines. They had been missing milestones. What Zubair's saying, that's an important word, milestones or deadlines. I can't even remember the word now that was in the article, but they were missing timeline, okay, which is very common in dev. That's not abnormal. They bring him back to get things back on course, and they're like, hey, PlayStation wants this demo. We're going to get this thing ready. I also don't think it's clear that the show went in a different, I don't know. I'm not going to speculate on why he left the show, but after watching season 2, I wasn't shocked that he walked away. Season 2 is an abomination. It's not even remotely true to the game at all. Season 1 is a masterpiece. Season 2 is a disaster. Now, people that don't play the game thought season 2 was great. It got great scores and it got awards, but to the fans of the game and for Neil, I can't imagine Neil rolling credits on season 2 and thinking, yeah, I want to sign up for this again. So that to me makes sense. Presuming that's a sign of trouble or alarm bells are going off. It's studios missing deadlines all the time, restructuring leadership. None of this is a sign of a game in trouble or there's problems. It's that is normal in development. And if anything, this is a clear indication of why you don't move your people around and have them doing other things. Bungie learned this when they had all their incubation projects and it hurt Destiny, and maybe having Neil and his attention split was part of the cause here. You got the captain of the ship doing other things, and they missed some deadlines. They missed some milestones. That's honestly not surprising.
I cannot tell you that there is a direct causal link between the return of Druckmann and the crunch that followed. I can't say that Neil just walked back into the office and said, I'm getting the whip out, boys! Get working, because Herman's going to kill us all. I don't know.
I think their timing is not coincidental. I don't think he's the cause. I agree with Bellular here. We don't know if he's the cause. I think it's a coincidence, and it's a happy coincidence. Not a happy coincidence. I think it's a very convenient coincidence. I think they were like, listen, we need to get this thing back on track. We need Neil's full attention back on the project. And then they decided, listen, if we're going to make the timeline of this demo, we're going to have to crunch for 7 weeks.
Know if that happened or if it didn't happen. So read this as events that are happening in and around the same time but are not necessarily causal. But what we can do is we can look at all the pressure that is building on Naughty Dog. We do see a PlayStation that is increasingly ruthless about cutting projects that don't come together. We have a studio head who is...
That's not that they've become ruthless. I don't agree with that either. Shuhei Yoshida indicated they cancel games all the time. We're just now at a place, and I've called it this before, we're sort of in the era and the meta of the insider. We know so much more now than we ever have about studios and game development. And Shuhei's like, oh yeah, we cancel games all the time. That's just standard practice. And now we're hearing about all those games that get canceled. So it's like, oh, they're becoming ruthless. They've always done this. It's not surprising. I think tons of publishers do this. Games do not come to market. It's very common. You look at any interview with any developer, they will talk about all of the projects that just never saw the light of day. It's very, very common practice.
Returned after the studio had missed multiple deadlines and a weakened mid-level management that apparently hasn't been able to deliver a project without hurting its staff. All of that combined into nearly 2 months of crunch. And that is because crunch, in a way, is actually the easy way out. You know, I can predict that the video comments are going to be full of people saying, oh my god, these entitled goddamn game developers with basically fake jobs sitting at computers. What a bunch of whiny crybabies. How about they go outside and do a real man's job? That'll be there in the comments. And look, I know what it's like, say, crunching to get a conservatory done in time. You gotta dig the foundations in time for the concrete that's arriving or something, and yeah, you can't wait. The job has to be done. That's basically, you know, my family business. I know what's up there, but...
I agree with Bellular that whenever crunch comes up, there is a very common response from the working man who's like, I work 80 hours a week, these babies need to get over it. I've never found that to be helpful, but I do think when we see the actual numbers and it's like 7 weeks of no more than 60 hours a week, it is really hard for me to be like, oh gosh, the sky is falling, Naughty Dog's being terrible to their employees again. I'm like, have you paid attention to the economy? Have you paid attention to what people are doing to make ends meet? I'm sorry, I'm not going to really feel super bad for somebody who had to work 7 weeks of 60 hours a week. Like, I'm sorry. I don't think I've had a 60-hour work week in a decade. I don't remember the last time I worked only 60 hours in a week. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think I get where he's coming from. People always do that when crunch pops up and shows up. But in this instance, this is one of the times I'm like, this does not sound like that extreme of a situation at all.
A video game is not the same as building a conservatory. I know that a lot of construction projects are a hell of a lot more complicated, but basically, stay with me here. Software is extremely complex, and while crunch will actually get you, it will actually work. You see, that's the thing. Crunch will work. In a limited and specific fashion, you'll accrue a lot of technical debt. You will wear out your team. Because in a world where there's a bit of crunch here and there because, hey, it's the real world, shit goes wrong, I think that's basically okay and completely understandable. But when crunch just becomes the default way to sort things out, well, maybe that's how you end up with a studio like Naughty Dog.
I also think somebody put it in chat, and this is actually helpful. If you miss a bunch of deadlines, crunch is kind of the result. Like, if things aren't happening on time, you know, that's debt. Like, you got to make that up. It's like, hey, you keep missing these deadlines, you're going to have to work late in the office tonight to make this work. I mean, I'm watching a TV show, and that's what happens. Like, it's obviously a TV show, but that's what happens. Like, if they have to work late, they got to work late. Like, hey, you missed this thing, you didn't do this thing, you weren't on time. Like, that is obviously part and parcel of the situation. And he also said, it works in limited ways, which I think 7 weeks, no more than 60 hours a week, is quite literally exactly what we're talking about. This is why I said we cannot conflate limited crunch for a deadline with crunch culture. They are not the same thing, and I feel like this video misses that distinction.
One that now is not able to hit its basic deadlines and has not been able to hit multiple of them in a row, basically meaning that Druckmann has maybe been forced to come back, right? And it's weird because the studio have been talking about fixing the crunch practices for years. They know it's bad. They know it's literally hurting the strength of their team and therefore hurting the amount of video game that they can produce for you. And every time, the people involved probably do mean it when they say they really don't want crunch. They can see they're exhausting their staff. They know that it's contributing to attrition. And from what we understand, attrition is fairly high at the studio, even though it's a studio that quite literally makes industry-defining games.
Hang on a second here. This is in 2020, so this is 6 years ago. Of the 20 non-lead designers in the credits of 2016's Uncharted, a whopping 14 to 70% are no longer at the studio. Yeah, so that's 6 years ago. Is there any evidence of that happening now is the question. If you're going to paint the picture that attrition has driven people away, yes, that happened 6 years ago when we have it on record that there was a crunch culture at the company, something they have claimed to have corrected. So if you want to run this and you want to talk about this, you need to run this as it's happening now. If it's not happening now, you shouldn't be phrasing it in that way. It sounds like it's still happening. Yeah, and a whopping 14 to 70%. Why such a big range there? It doesn't make any sense to me. We're 14 to 70. That doesn't even make sense as a range to put. And again, this was 6 years ago. So it's like, I don't quite understand. If this is happening now, it would be evident. You'd have people on Twitter saying they're no longer at the company. Their LinkedIns would be updated. See, the advantage that we have now is we're not only well more informed than we've ever been, and we know exactly when a studio cancels a game, or we know exactly when a studio changes its leadership. Do you know what else we know? We know when people quit. We know when people walk away from a studio. There's no evidence that that is happening right now at Naughty Dog. There's no tweets. There's no articles. There's no updated LinkedIns. This is 6 years ago in the wake of what they did. It's not happening right now. If it is, where's the evidence?
But the thing is, Crunch does actually ship games, and it has been shipping games for 20 years, 30 years. We have lots of different terms for it. BioWare Magic is one of them. And more than that, it ships games that top the charts and win critical acclaim. So yeah, they may make some changes and try to plan ahead better, but seemingly they still do miss the deadlines. They find their build isn't ready for review. It happens again. It happens again. Something's gone wrong in the process. Now they see Sony are cutting staff all over the place. They're killing projects. And maybe Naughty Dog starts to actually get scared because something's gone wrong in planning, and that does not change the fact that they need to ship their work. They can't go back in time to fix the plan, but what they can do is ask more of their staff. That's the
Yeah, and that was a 2016 quote paired with the 2025 quote about what just happened. It's been so long. That's a decade ago. That quote he had up on the screen just now, that's from May of 2016. Like, this is a decade ago. I mean, the culture around crunch has changed. Studios have admitted that it doesn't work. It harms the project. You get sloppy work. You don't get good QA. Like, I don't at all think having a 10-year-old quote
fix the plan,
preceded by a quote from Schreier about the limited amount of crunch that happened for 7 weeks. I feel like this is just a very, very... It just doesn't feel like an accurate representation of what happened at the company. It was so limited, and then they got a week of paid time off for the holiday. Like, plenty of people, I'm being told, do this annually at SIE. They're like, listen, we're going to crunch. We're going to get all this stuff done right before the holidays because we get a paid week off. Like, that's common at the end of the year. That's common around tax season for the tax man. Like, they put in an absurd amount of hours because the work demands it. And then guess what? After tax season, I know the tax man. I know my CPAs. They prop their feet and they take a week off. Like, that is something that is common all across all sorts of industries. This is not a sign of trouble, and I feel like a lot of this has been very, very presumptive.
Ask more of their staff. That's the easy thing to do, because for a studio like them, it has basically worked every time before. And maybe this early crunch means that staff will avoid crunch whenever release approaches, but it's almost always the case that crunching and crunching and crunching means technical debt and burnt out staff. All things that reduce the efficiency of your team, the efficiency of your development, which probably means that, if I were you, I certainly wouldn't put money on Intergalactic actually coming out when it's supposed to come out. But hey, they can always rest easy in the knowledge that the crunch did pay off, that they did win. They completed their demo, but more than that, they actually won an award. It's the inaugural Workers' Choice Award for Worst Crunch Culture at the CWA union-hosted Avarice Awards. I wonder what sort of staff reports they got. It'd be pretty cool if some of those staff reports made it into my email inbox. I'd love to hear. But anyway, that is it for this video. Now you guys know what's up. Let me know what your bets are on when Intergalactic will come out, or if it will even come out. And to the award-winning management team at Naughty Dog, congratulations. It's great to see you guys get yet another win.
Yeah, so always support the original content. I like Bellular. I respect the fact that he put all the facts before you and he's giving his own perspective on it. I personally think the perspective is extremely presumptive. It's like, listen, you are well within your right to think this. You're well within your right to be concerned. I am not seeing the same thing that you're seeing. I saw 7 weeks, no more than 60 hours. That sounds like a different culture to me. It sounds like it was limited. It sounds like they only did it after multiple deadlines had been missed. This was not something they just immediately pulled from the holster as like well, it's time to crunch. And then they got time off for the holidays. Like, that to me does not sound like what the video seems to presume could be happening. And again, we know if people are leaving the company, if people are angry about the company and things going on, we always find out. They either quit, it's on LinkedIn, it's on Twitter, it'll be a Jason Schreier expose. We don't currently have that. Schreier runs the report and doesn't get a single piece of complaint from the employees. He doesn't have 12 anonymous employees saying, oh, it's hell being at the company right now. But we got videos like this and reactions to videos like this acting like, oh, everything's bad at Naughty Dog. Listen, what this is like when the MVP has a bad night, okay? This is a great studio with a great track record. Their cadence is slowed down, and everybody's like, what's going on? It's just like when a really good sports player doesn't put up their typical big numbers. Everyone talks about it. I think that's one of the reasons that Naughty Dog is being held to these standards with cadence and delivery. And listen, I'd rather wait for a good game than insist on games coming out, quicker than they should. That's the long and the short of it for me. I feel like so much of this is driven by an expectation of Naughty Dog that we don't bring to any other developer. I don't see any other developer that has had this length of time to deliver something, and everybody's like, oh, it must be terrible, it must be bad. Now, when there have been games that have taken a long time to come out, all along the way, we sometimes get reports of trouble. We sometimes get reports of problems and people leaving, creative directors leaving, employees leaving, what have you. That is something that we commonly see. Currently, we haven't seen any shred of that at Naughty Dog. We haven't. So for now, I'm like, I have no reason to presume any of this until we have more hard data, until we have more claims or testimonials or people quitting or people being, maybe even fired, or removed or laid off or whatever. Now, the layoffs, again, that happened, but that's been happening all across the industry. I don't see Naughty Dog as being some sort of standout in the group and in the crowd. This ending was a home run for me. Clearly, he had his mind made up before the script was ever written. He saw the award and made a whole video just to fit the punchline. I don't know about that. I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to presume about Bellular. I like his content. I feel like he's usually very, very exhaustive. And I wanted to watch it. I didn't pre-watch it because I wanted to be able to, react to it raw. Because, I watch his stuff, and I'm usually like, that was very thorough, that was very good. That video was at least thorough. He put all the information in front of you. You didn't walk away from that video lacking information. You didn't. You know exactly what happened. You know the amount of hours people were required. You can make your own judgment call. Now, I have some people to thank. Thank you so much, Junebug, for using your Prime 32 months. Let me add that to the total. And then Goonie Goo-Goos with a Prime as well. That was like 40 minutes ago. Sorry, I didn't add that to the total. And then a $10 super chat from the OA. And you retracted your message for some reason. Try again, I guess. I'll read it. Zubair says, he chose to fill in all the gaps coming from a certain conclusion. We are working with very little actual info. I don't agree with his take. Still a good piece of content. I'm just happy that he put all the information in the video, right? He can have his own presumptions. He can have his own opinions. He is allowed to do that. That's fine. I don't agree. At least he put all the information in there. If we would have got to the end of that video and he didn't show you the numbers and he didn't show you how much crunch they actually had to work, I'd have been like, hey, now, come on. You got to at least put the information in front of people. Because when you look at the actual numbers, it's like 7 weeks, no more than 60 hours. Come on. That's not. This is not the barn burner that people are trying to claim that it is. It's just not. The super chat was the same you just read. I just added, in my opinion. Thank you for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. Naughty Dog just lost a few years due to live service attempts. Naughty Dog's game after Intergalactic will come a lot sooner. It's not underhanded. It's just a conclusion I'm not compelled to agree with. Yeah, that's why I kept saying it was presumptive. I don't feel he was being dishonest. I don't feel he was being misleading. It was just very presumptive. It was like, man, you're presuming a lot here, brother. Like the whole, like, they're not logging their hours thing. I'm like, come on, Bellular. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. I mean, if that's going on, like, under the table, I feel like we would know. I feel like the people would have told Jason Schreier. You know, people are happy. People are happy to complain and run their company down if they're getting overworked. They're happy to talk to somebody at the press to be like, yeah, it's terrible over here. I mean, if you look at a lot of the things we've learned, you know, about Bungie over the years, the people over there don't seem too hesitant at all to talk about when things are bad, you know. At least Naughty Dog doesn't take as long as Bethesda. I'm still hoping for Fallout 5 before I'm 50. More reports of early players stating that they're extremely impressed with Crimson Desert. Can't wait. I am really anxious to see exactly how that engine pulls off the fidelity that they've shown in their trailers, man. Whew, because it looks really, really good. And what Luke Stevens said during the New Game Plus event gave me some, like, okay, apparently they pulled this off. We'll see, because, man, oh man, does it look too good to be true in a lot of those early trailers. If you guys haven't done so already, please do me a quick favor and hit that like button. A bunch of people piled in for that reaction. That's not surprising. I can't wait. I can't wait to see what people have to say. Make a video debunking it. Well, you can't debunk a presumption. That was the video that I just made. I mean, I sat here and reacted to it. I said, that's presumptive. There's no evidence. If you don't have evidence, you shouldn't be acting like, hey, this is probably happening. Like, or things are in, what did he say? Things are in trouble, things are bad, or whatever. He used a phrase. I'm like, but you don't know that. You can miss timelines for a litany of reasons. You could miss timelines because you adjusted the story, and then all sorts of things had to be paused and stopped, and then that pushes timelines back. It doesn't mean things are in trouble or that things aren't going well. You don't know. There's no way to know. You can't debunk a presumption. I just know that when Schreier runs an article like that, he will reach out to anybody he knows at the company. And if nobody says to him, yep, it's terrible, I don't want to be on record, I don't want you using my name, but it's awful, and we're right back to the old ways, and the culture's bad, he would have had a bunch of anonymous people telling him that. I think that's fair. Like, I'm presuming too, but I'm presuming if it was really bad, and they had gone back to their old ways of crunch culture, you would have people calling that. Imagine getting hired and being told that, and then it gets right back to being terrible. You would be very willing, I think, to talk to Schreier, the press. Or again, I feel like people would be quitting. I don't know. There would be evidence if that was what was going on. If you make a modern game with baked lighting instead of real-time dynamic lighting like Death Stranding, you can create a beautiful game, but it takes a lot of work and time. It's called investigative journalism. The gaming media could use more of it. Well, the difficulty with that is, Siriu, investigative journalism, like, how are you supposed to do investigative journalism when you don't, how are you going to get contacts at these studios? Like, someone like Schreier is one of the few people that can do it because he's got so many years in the industry. He has lots of contacts, right? You know what I mean? Trying to debunk someone's opinion, what Lono just did is how you approach these things. I don't agree. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't agree with his presumption. I don't think we have enough evidence to presume some of the things he was presuming. But he's totally free to say those things. They can also say no comment. Yeah, that's true. If you're trying to do investigative journalism, you've got contacts at Naughty Dog. The people at Naughty Dog can be like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you right now. Like, I could get in trouble if they find out I talked to you. You know what I mean? Not everyone claims to be a journalist. Some people just comment on the news. Yeah, Bellular's never claimed to be an investigative journalist. Even what Schreier does is difficult because people might not want to talk to him. They may be like, listen, man, right now, if I say anything to you, it's going to get traced back to me. I mean, look at what happened at Rockstar. A bunch of people got fired for leaking stuff. And one of the things that got leaked, at least this is what GTA Countdown thinks, was the names Jason and Lucia. That got leaked to somebody. That got traced back to people at the company, and they got fired. So the last thing somebody wants to do in an era and the meta that we're in right now of the insider, the last thing they're going to do is talk to the press. Like, now again, if everything's bad and everything's going poorly and they've gone back on their word and it's crunch culture all over again at Naughty Dog, I feel like that heightens people's willingness to talk to Schreier because Schreier's done all sorts of work on this very subject, speaking to studios about work culture. So that's where I was saying I felt like Bellular presuming that with zero evidence of that in the article. Like, Schreier didn't get a whiff of that from any employee. Like, that's why I was kind of like, listen, if he had like 7 anonymous people saying, listen, we're not at liberty to discuss anything, so don't put our name, but it's gotten bad and the crunch culture's returned and everybody's miserable, yes, then I think Bellular's presumptions are 100% on target. Like, yep, I'm worried too. I'm right there with you. But when you have 7 weeks, not exceeding 60 hours a week, and when it's all over, said and done with, they hit the deadline, they get like a week of paid vacation. Everybody gets a week off paid for the holiday. I'm like, that sounds like a pretty good deal to me, bro. Like, I don't know. I've worked a lot of jobs in my life, and if somebody would have told me, listen, if you do the next 7 weeks, 60 hours, okay, we're going to give you a week paid for the holiday. It's not going to come out of your vacation. It's not going to come out of your PTO. We're giving everybody the week of Christmas off. I'd have been like, yeah, I can do that. I'm here for 50 hours most of the time anyway. Any salary job I'd ever had, I was on the premises for 50 hours anyway. What's 10 more hours? That's nothing. In a week? That's nothing. I'd have done that in a heartbeat. Oh, it's not paid. So the frick what? A week of paid time off for the holiday? And all I got to do is figure out a way to be here 10 more hours a week? You better believe I would have done that in a heartbeat. When I was a manager, dude, I was at the office most of the time 50, 55 hours a week anyway. I'd have been like, that's fine. Crunch is paid overtime? No, not if your salary, it's not. No. I was salary at the time, and I was literally on the premises at the office 50 to 60 hours a week no matter what. Because you're there during your lunch break. I mean, we going to leave? I mean, it's easier just to bring lunch with you. So we were typically there at the office for roughly 10 hours a day, right? That was pretty much the shift. You'd get there, you'd take your lunch break, you'd hit 9, but then once it's all closed down, or you got to stay late sometimes. Sometimes we'd have to come in on a Saturday. I'm here to tell you, if they had come to me and said, listen, we're going to have you hit 60 hours a week for the next 7 weeks, and if you do that and we hit our deadline, you get a week's paid vacation for the holiday. Oh my gosh. I'm like, where do I sign? That sounds fantastic. And that's what they did. That's what they did at Naughty Dog. They did it. It was 7 weeks. They weren't allowed to exceed 60 hours. The minimum was 8. So a lot of them were, in what, 48, 55, somewhere in there. Come on. You give me a week off for the holiday, especially as a family man. That would have been wonderful. That's crazy. In my country, crunch is overtime and paid at an hourly rate, even if you're salaried. I mean, every company's different, but for the most part, overtime for a salary employee is not paid. at least in all the jobs I've ever had that were salary. So, and listen, these companies know that crunch cannot become normal. It's terrible for the product. It's terrible for the product. They did this specifically for a deadline for PlayStation. And listen, I didn't want to get into it in the video because it would have made the video too long and it would have gotten all off into left field. When he got on the subject of like canceling games and having more oversight in their games, PlayStation has historically been very, very hands-off. After what happened with Concord, they're like, okay, no, we need to be a little bit more involved here. We need to know what the frick's going on. You also have to remember, a lot of their commentary about accountability and budgets and what have you, that started happening in the wake of Bungie. Because they buy Bungie, and they're like, you got knitting classes? The frick are you guys doing over there? What is this? What are you running an office or a daycare? So they were named specifically in an earnings call by Hiroki Totoki about we need an increase in accountability and control on budgets and leadership changes. And then CFO comes out and says, I think it was last year, she's like, yeah, we've basically taken over. It's PlayStation Studio now. We're going to be doing some change up in the leadership. Pete Parsons is now gone. So a lot of what they were saying, I think, is necessary. Number one, if you're going to be doing live service games, you can't have another Concord, right? You want to have a Helldivers 2 every couple of years, you know? You want to have a Marvel Tokone Fighting Souls every couple of years? Well, then you're going to have to be more involved in checking on these games. You can't have this secrecy crap. You want to know what High Guard and Concord have in common? They're not letting anybody see it until it's almost time to deliver. Nobody saw Concord. I was told that people at SIE commonly internally test these games. And that didn't happen with Concord. They kept it super secret. Same dadgum thing happened with High Guard. Nope. Secret. Here's the game. It's coming out in a month. And people are like, what the frick is this? I mean, I think PlayStation learned a valuable lesson. You can't do that. You can't do this make a game in secrecy thing. You got to let people see it. You got to let feedback come in. You get stuck in this like weird positivity loop that some of these studios get stuck in. And it's like, you're making a pile of crap and nobody's telling you. I work in automotive and I'm paid by commission, so I get paid by the work and not how long I'm at work. Yeah, I've had commission jobs before, man. They can be tough. They can be tough, especially automotive. It could be up and down. You can have 2 months that end up paying for 2 other months that suck. You know, that's a rough gig. I'll say it. Car sales is a rough gig. My missus gets salary, including 6 weeks paid off, 2 weeks at Christmas, then a bonus in January. This is in the UK. Yeah. I wanted to watch it because I think there's a lot of folks who like instantly are like overly critical, skeptical, or negative about Naughty Dog. And that's fine. That's fine. But I think that's why that video was making the rounds, because I think people are anxious to cheer for the game to do poorly or for the studio to do poorly. They just don't like Naughty Dog. They're like, yeah, especially after The Last of Us Part 2, there's a lot of anti-fans out there. If there's one thing I've learned in the last 5 years of variety gaming coverage, the loudest voices in some of these spaces, like on Twitter and stuff, they're anti-fans. Their identity and what they talk about and how they talk about primarily comes from being against something rather than for something. So if you're for something, oh, buddy, they'll rail on you in a heartbeat. You're a shill. You're a this, you're a that, you're a fanboy. Because why? Because you like a studio and you like their games. You know? There are a lot of anti-fans in the mix now. And a lot of the times, that's why these types of vids, like, I thought the vid was not, it wasn't like inflammatory. It was just too presumptive, you know? But man, the anti-fans are loving it. They're like, yep, Naughty Dog's in trouble. Game's gonna suck. Game's gonna flop. You know, they're chomping at the bit for that to happen. And I think it's going to be just like The Last of Us Part 2. I think people are going to presume that the game's going to flop and be terrible, and then it's going to sell just fine. Like Last of Us Part 2 did perfectly fine, and was successful and then wins Game of the Year. And I'm sure people will claim it got Game of the Year, for political reasons. No, I played it, and I was very skeptical before going in. It's an excellent game. It's one of the best games I've ever played. Some weeks are 30 to 40 hours. Others might be 100. Just depends on the job and how many cars come in. Right. No, yeah, that's a hustle if there's ever been one. And not like a hustle like you're hustling and being dishonest, but like you gotta be hustling, dude. You gotta be working. How long is this thing here? We got this GDC thing for Destiny that I wanted to react to as well. Guys, we got 7 members on the day. We had a strong start yesterday. Let's try to have a follow-up today. Check your re-ups. That's actually a really, really quick way to hit our goals, is to make sure you're celebrating. If you're paying for your membership especially, man, you should be celebrating that every month and getting credit for it. Check your primes as well. Last of Us Part 2 is my favorite game of all time. GDC thing for Destiny. Yeah, so apparently they knew the portal was a bad idea. Apparently that they knew. And 256 likes. Can we get to 300? Yeah, let's try to get to 300 as well. Those 300 likes will be helpful. I feel the same way. It's easier to hate on something than to like it. Well, if you try to psychologize it, it very much comes down to like being excited about something and having fun. To many people, that's like cringe now, right? They're afraid to be seen having a good time or celebrating something because you might get made fun of. You might be called a shill or a fanboy or a whatever, Like the PlayStation Portal? No. The thing they put in Destiny called the Portal. Trey comes in with 11 months and gets us to 110. Says, almost a year. Respect, brother, and blessings. I appreciate it. J Hart comes in with 10 months. T-Lu 2 is my favorite game as well. I can't wait for Intergalactic. There it is. Listen, those of us that know the quality and consistency of Naughty Dog games, rather than like the sideliners who've never touched them and call them movie games or will say things about The Last of Us Part 2 that aren't even real. Like, the sideliners don't matter, right? They don't matter. They didn't touch the game. They don't know what they're talking about. 10 million in sales, Game of the Year, won a ton of awards. If you've played Naughty Dog games, you know what they deliver. Personally, if I see someone enjoying something, I call them a shill or a fanboy or a mouthpiece. That's great. Lona, your job is to tell me what they did in Destiny. Why do I even come here? Well, okay, so listen. The Discord got pinged. Hi, everybody. Listen, if you've not been following Destiny, they put a portal in the game that people hate. They hate it. Well, apparently, in 2013, they acknowledged that this is a bad idea. So 13 years ago, they were like, that's a bad idea. That's the video that's been circulating. And I was like, I saved it. This is actually a tweet. This is like 3-day-old tweet. But I was like, I got to share this with y'all. Because I remember when they announced that portal, it was like, okay. Like the idea of like, yeah, we're just going to put this in the game. It's going to completely like eventify the game. Yeah. So I'm going to go full screen with this one. I'm about to change my my capture method. Hang on. There we go. So we're going to watch this because apparently Bungie didn't learn their lesson. They knew 13 years ago the portal was a bad idea, and they put it anyway. So this clip that we're about to watch, this is from 2013 GDC. It's a 13-year-old clip. And yeah, if you don't like the portal in Destiny, you're really going to like this.
The gas giants are multiple destinations at each planet. only to find out later that those weren't even going to be problems for us. So trying not to get hung up on a lot of the little details was a bit of a challenge. Some designs didn't make it past the black and white motion comps, and then some made it all the way into the engine. But all in all, we had probably 8 or 9 major revisions with probably about 3 that we put into the game.
It's crazy how much the game has changed, too. Like, you look at some of these early concepts and some of the stuff they were going to do with the director. It's wild.
So, we tried some with the roster in the director, and then we tried some where we actually got rid of the director as a whole, and put in a menu just right in orbit, like this example here, so that you didn't even have to leave the page to get to this. And then we categorized everything. It's like, this is the strike for the week, this is the raid, the crucible, and all this stuff. And here is where we landed. Now, this is like at the end of the development cycle. And we had basically streamlined the process, solved lots of issues, and made it absolutely easy to do what you wanted to. And
okay, I'm going to jump ahead of him and say, I've not watched this. I have no idea what the man's about to say. Okay, the reason this doesn't work has so much to do with what we talked about yesterday and how I'm playing Control, and one of the best things about it that makes the gameplay more enjoyable is the world. It's the lore, it's the tone, it's the story. It's got this vibe, okay? Arc Raiders passes the vibe check. It feels like this living world that you're going into. It's why it doesn't necessarily feel like just some rehearsed, match-made extraction shooter where you're just supposed to go in and kill people, right? It's because you're engaging with a world, a place, a destination, this thing. What this does, and the reason people hate the Portal, and the reason they didn't even do this back in the day, what this does is it basically turns the game into a menu to get to an activity. It's no longer a world. It's no longer a living, breathing thing. It's quite literally just a menu. It turns it into drive-through. It's like you're going through the drive-through and ordering your meal, and it comes in a paper bag instead of sitting down, and there's ambiance, and there's like a piano playing, and there's a waiter, and there's a feel to a restaurant, right? There's just a feel to a restaurant. We go to one where there's like live music. Okay, so you take all that out of the game when it's this. You're turning it into a drive-through menu. I feel like he's probably going to touch on that's why it doesn't work, which is insane to me that they ended up putting it into the game anyway.
And do it extremely efficiently. But we had totally sucked all the fun and cool stuff that we had in that very first prototype, and we realized that we'd somehow gone astray. So this was an important lesson we learned, is that when you're iterating and improving and trying to fix everything from the last iteration, you got to take a look at all your previous iterations instead of just the last one, because then it can start driving you in the wrong course. And Jason was the first to recognize this and call it to our attention. And while we'd accomplished this first set of goals, he gave us a few more that he really wanted us to work on so we could clarify the important things about the director design. So he said it has to offer a sense of place, give people kind of...
What did I say? What did I say? It's got to feel like a world. It's got to feel like a destination. Well, they say a sense of place. Right there. If you don't have that, that's something that Bungie did a great job of with Destiny. Credit where credit's due. You felt like, yeah, I'm engaging with the world. I'm engaging with the place. They did a very good job with this.
This sense of wonder, this really cool environment. It also had to show you your past and your future so that you knew... like, oh, look, Venus is unlocked. I can go there soon, and you can see everything that you've done previously. It also had to display the dependencies between activities. So, like, if you had to unlock Venus before you could unlock Mars, and so on and so forth. So,
I feel like Arc Raiders watched this. I feel like Embark Studios watched this and was like, this is all great. Thank you so much. We're going to do all of this. This is exactly what they've done. It's a sense of place, past and future. You have a sense of accomplishment. The activities are interrelated. You got access to new places now, new things you can go do. They Embark watch this. They're like, this is your great notes. Thank you so much, Bungie. It's a 13-year-old video.
It was the 11th hour. We knew we had to get this out like ASAP. If there's any producers in here, you were probably sweating bullets for me just thinking about the idea of making a major change that late. You know, we're talking just a few months before we shipped. So we built a working prototype as rapidly as possible. We pilfered a guy from our web team to build a rapid prototype using CSS, HTML, JavaScript. And, you know, like I said, we were out of time. Our specs were mostly complete, and we just didn't have all the details figured out, but we just had to execute. So we started executing. It's not optimal, but we had to move. Anyway, this is where we landed. We were very happy with the result.
Look at that, dude. Doesn't that look good? That looks good. Like, that takes me back. Like, that right there, this right here is, there is something going on. There's atmosphere. There's tone. There's artistry. This is like comparing the King's Fall raid in D1 to whatever the frick they did to it, bringing it over to D2. Like, they robbed it of all of its rough edges. There's substance, there's grit, there's something there. You could put your hands on it. Look at that. Like, that is what made this game memorable. You felt like that you were going to a place. You felt like there was something special going on. I'm here to tell you, this is related to so many of the conversations that we have had about games like High Guard, where there's no grit, there's nothing about it that felt like it took some heart and some spit shine and some effort. It's just this canned, like, very clean blood. It's like, I've seen this before. I think in the past, I've talked about how games had to go the extra mile to make their game look good or memorable. Like, you had to do a lot of legwork to get your art design and your feel to just create tone and create vibe. And I'm here to tell you, a lot of these studios are missing this important part. They're skipping right over this, and they're thinking about mechanics, and they're thinking about gameplay, and they're thinking about, performance and optimization or whatever. Those are all great things, but if you skip this very, very important step, you're never going to understand why that Arc Raiders strikes a tone with people, or why Expedition 33 strikes a tone with people. They pass the vibe check. There's a tone. There's an artistry emphasis that if you don't do it, it makes you forgettable. And Destiny was certainly not forgettable in its early era. And there was nothing to do. That's the crazy part. There was nothing to do in this game. It was so empty and so vacant, and yet people kept coming back.
The design and the solutions that we landed at, it has kind of this mixture of sci-fi and fantasy, this ancient cartography look and feel to it.
A Destiny 1 art direction was dirty, says Jazster. Listen, this is why you can watch like the earliest Star Wars movies, and you watch the really over-polished, over-graphified versions, and you're like, what happened? Where's the grit? Where's the dirty, dusty, old, dated, rundown galaxy, right? We got that, I think, in Mandalorian and Andor. Mandor. But so true. So true. The game just had like this dirty old feeling to it, like a worn out, mitt that just fits your hand so comfortably.
So I've talked about our UI and shown you the stills and bits and pieces.
Okay, that's the end of that. Listen. I'm here to tell you that's a significant thing that many studios are missing these days. They're missing that key element, that key component that, like, your game has to have a feel to it, a substance to it. I need to feel like I can almost touch it. And if you skip that part, you're just going to end up with like cold menus and cold assets and like really clean environments that just feel absolutely sanitized of a soul. And I think that is a huge missing element. And that's why when I saw footage of the King's Fall raid in Destiny 2, I was like, I don't feel like I'm missing out at all. I don't know what they did to our boy, but it doesn't look like the Ascendant Realm to me. It looked like a mobile game. And then when you lose your way in that, I think you lose your players as well. I think you do. I think when you lose your way in that, you lose your players. Your players are going to vacate off. Yo, what's good, Bellows? Old Bungie is gone. Hearing them say this so long ago hurts my soul. That's right. It's almost like the game had a personality. That's right. That's right. Did someone call? What's good, Fuzzy? We need 30 more likes. Let's get 30 more likes on the vid, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Another strong day. I got to tell you, I appreciate the turnout today. There was nothing going on, and y'all just showed up just to hang out and watch vids and talk about stuff, man. I really, really do appreciate it. Shroud still thinks, he thinks if Arc Raiders would have come out at this state in the summer, it would have won Game of the Year. I don't think so, because I don't think the folks that vote and the review outlets feel the same way. There was a strong sense around Expedition 33, and a single comes in from Frank last, 14 months, a renewal. Thank you. Let me add that to the total. Yeah, look at this comparison. Look at this comparison. I'm sorry. I had to turn up the stinking volume so much in that GDC video. I just kind of blew your eardrums out. Look at this. So Yves put this together. Oh, man. Isn't it interesting? Isn't it interesting how better graphics doesn't translate to better vibes? Like, it's just like, like, what happened? Look, that's the first game. How is that? How is that possible? How? How do you change that much? Jiminy Christmas, that's bad. My gosh, let's get into the game. It's like the game's been just so robbed of everything. Like, there's just no grit to it. It's like sandpaper that's been turned into a paper towel. A $5 super chat from Broken Earth. That actually makes me a little angry. They knew in 2013 it was a bad idea and still robbed the game of its soul. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Oh, look at that. Yeah, it's too... I'm telling you, it's too clean. It's too clean. There's no tone here anymore. Do you see? This looks ominous. This looks scary. What is this? It's too shiny. Man, I think it's the worst when they get into where are we here? See, this looks old and terrifying, and like the dead will rise and kill you. And then this looks like somebody took me to go play laser tag. It's like all the lights are green, and it's got like this monochromatic feel to it, just one color tone. Like, it doesn't feel old. It feels like over-colorified or something. Like, this is excellent. This right here, I'm telling you, they absolutely nailed the King's Fall raid. This is something that they did. Look at the color in the new game. I don't understand. Why does everything look like that? Why would you do that? Why would you change the color so much? Yeah, this is what killed me. His actual chamber. Look again. This looks old. This looks terrifying. Like, what is here? What built this, and when was it built? And then you go into Destiny 2, it's all pretty and shiny and colorful. It's like, again, I'm telling you, I can't believe they did that to this raid. It absolutely kills me. This was literally the raid that gave me a career in streaming. Look at this. Here he comes. This is just it right here, boys. Look at that! It's awful. It's awful. I'm in the way. Let me see if I can get the controls off the screen. All right, let me get myself out of the way here. Hang on. Look at the comparison. He's got it windowed down there for you. Look at the comparison. It's like this dusty, smoky, we might not get out of here, boys. We're going to die in here. We are in his realm. And then it's all clean and like, I don't know. That it kills me, man. It's just, there's so much color. To me, it's like when George Lucas went back and messed with his movies. It's like, you never considered the real question, like Ian Malcolm says. You just concerned yourself with whether or not that you could. You didn't ask that if you should. It's like, well, we could do this, we could do that. Yeah, but should you? The art style in the beginning was so good. It was old and dusty and worn out, and it felt like this ancient place that we were visiting. Now this looks like a frickin' theme park. Did King's Fall D2 day 1. Got the exotic second try. Never touched it again 2 times. I must have over 50 clears in D1. Street light color effect. They are changing out all the orange street lamps for LED. Games are doing the same. You know, it's funny. When we were going around looking at Christmas lights, my wife and I talked about that. There's the older Christmas lights. They have like a yellow glow to them. And then there's the new ones. It's like this clean white blue-ish. And it's terrible. It's terrible. The old yellowish glow Christmas lights, they're the best. They look, there's just something warm and inviting about them. And like those bluish white LEDs, they are terrible. They don't look nice. It looks like something out of a magazine that's telling us what everything's going to look like in the future. I'm like, ugh, what's that? Why are we all wearing jumpsuits? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't like it. Changes the whole mood? It does. It does. Yeah, so the PSSR 2 update, I didn't really run this because we don't know. Major update for this coming, summary of rumors. Update timing January to March. That's a huge window, boys. Implementation of a feature very similar to FSR 4. Improved image quality performance. Frame rates boosted, even for games that were capped at 70 to 80. Low-res classic games also upscaled. New debugging tools. That's it. I mean, I couldn't chase down every rumor and every source, so I was like, yeah, I'm not running that. But that is something that's out there so that you guys are aware. If you guys haven't hit the like button yet, do me a favor and quickly do that. Somebody's asking me, it's Chill Will submitted a question. This is something you guys can always do. He says, will you be covering the Resident Evil showcase? I don't know. I need to look at the schedule because is it like 5? I don't think it'll be super long though, right? Angry Pete with a gifted member gets us to 113. We were on pace at the end of yesterday. If we want to be on pace today, we want to end at 200. Thank you guys so much for keeping us on pace yesterday. Make sure you're celebrating your renewals. If you want to pay it forward in gift, that always helpful. And also make sure that the like count keeps moving closer and closer. And Hidden Sirius going to bump the line with a 5-bomb and get us to 118. So faithful. Sirius always gifting. The fired employees at GTA 6 studio denied interim pay by the UK tribunal. They say that it's flimsy grounds for defense. Yeah. They don't feel like they're going to be able to unearth enough evidence that they were fired for union busting purposes. I mean, the people leaked info. If there's a paper trail and grounds to fire for leaking information, you're cooked, man. You ain't getting anything. Good news, everyone. Just putting that out there. Who is this? I'm seeing people make claims about Steam machine pricing. Yeah, I don't know. Has anybody been able to track down where D-Batch got this info? It's got 1.2 million views. He says, good news, the Steam machine prices are wrong. It's going to be $600 for the 512, $700 for the 2 terabyte. Like, is this been verified at all? Has anybody else corroborated any inside anything? And a 5-bomb comes in from Broken Earth and gets us to 123. Purple, this is the time to answer back and steal it at 125. I owe you guys a member. We didn't really run the story of the Steam machine price either. I was like we talked about it, but I was like, yeah, I don't know that the leak that happened with the one website, and then other people were saying that it was a reseller, and I'm like, well, then they could have whatever placeholders they want in there if they're just a reseller. Hey, Bellows gifts one and Alex gifts one. They just tag teamed and stole it. Sorry, Broken Earth. You were a little too slow, and now you're an agent of chaos, and takes us to 126. And then Alex goes one further. He and Bellows took care of it. Broken Earth does another one. We're at 128. A little bit of a high five between Alex and Bellows over there, and we are now 2 away from 130. I'm going to pay up over there, and I owe Purple a member. Thank you, boys, so much for supporting the channel. If you guys missed it, when we hit the weekly goal of 500, Madam joins me on Friday night for Gaming News Tonight. We react to the week's gaming news, and it's pretty funny because she is not connected to this world at all. It is, it's a good time, and you can always watch it as a past broadcast if you missed it. Igor says we've got a competition. Yeah, a little bit of a competition. It's 20-6, though, so Twitch is a little bit behind today. That was an 80s jumping high five. Yeah, like the slow motion kind that rolls credits at the end of the sitcom. I know the type. High on Life 2 for Nintendo Switch 2 appears on Amazon. I bet you they could scale that down for the Switch. It's a good-looking game, but I wouldn't think it's super, super demanding. You know? Some people do create rumors to cope. Yeah, I couldn't figure out where he got his info, where D-Batch got his info. I was like, I'm not sure where you're getting this pricing. Did you cover the Ubisoft layoffs yet? There's not much to say. I mean, yeah, they're laying off, they laying off 55 people. Don't they have like 8,000 employees? Like, I didn't feel like it didn't seem like that much of a story. It was like, yeah, they're laying some folks off. Like, I don't know. Can't wait for High on Life 2. Yeah, didn't replay. I finished High on Life 2 this year. I had played it back in the day and liked it and never went back to it. And now I'm finishing up Control. I rolled credits, but there's a lot more to do in the game that I want to do, as well as DLC. Is Madam excited for any game? I'm mainly the gamer. Madam doesn't really look. If Hogwarts Legacy does a sequel, she'll be excited. She played that one like 60-something hours. Yeah, she's not really. She'll game with me. Like, her and I played Borderlands 4 for like 60-something hours. And right now, we finished Mario Galaxy 1 on the Switch 2, and we're working our way through Mario Galaxy 2. So, we're enjoying that. They're not the best ports, so be warned. Some of the controls get a little wonky, which is unfortunate. I don't expect Lona to cover 55 people getting fired. It didn't seem like tectonic at all. It was like, they're such a big company. 55 people. Like, I feel bad for the 55 people, but it's like 55 people at Ubisoft is like, I don't even know what. I think some of it came from the Division team as well, which was surprising, given what they're signaling with the Division 3 and Division 1 Definitive Edition. So Major Nelson has been laid off from Unity. After leaving Microsoft, I joined the Unity team in 2024. I'm proud of the goals my team accomplished in just 18 months. I'm grateful for the creators. He's invigorating conversations over the past week with companies. Okay, so he's looking for new opportunities. Wasn't Ubisoft like 20,000? 20,000? I thought it was like 8,000. He didn't retire? No. He went to work at Unity, yeah. He actively tweets, too. Like, he's pretty active on socials. Like, he's usually commenting and saying stuff. Doc Dark says 4,000 views. Why? I didn't even say anything. What's this man saying? I watched a video that he put out about Gamers need to unite or something like that. Let's see. He said Xbox Series X just became more valuable. It's 15 hours old, so I can't react to it. I react to stuff. Minimum, it has to be on the platform 24 hours, so I'm not going to do that. If you guys want to check out his video, I like Doc Dark. I don't agree with him on a lot of stuff, but I like him. He's a friend of the show. And if you want to check out his video, I don't show somebody's video like that when it's in its early stages. Yo, what's good, Thrash? That's it? Yeah. He's saying the Series X is more valuable. I'm going to assume he's talking about how like it's going to get more and more expensive to get consoles, so people are going to have to stay on the consoles that they have, maybe? Like, is that what he's saying? Like, Series X is now more valuable? My Series X is a Fortnite machine, so, you know? I mean, hey, my daughter plays Fortnite on it, so... The thirst for Xbox news is in right now. Yeah. What video of his did I watch? The one I watched, Doc, what was he saying? He was saying something. He said renting games better than buying. Oh, it was his in 2026 Gamers Need to Unite video. Yeah, I checked out after a little bit. I was like, all right, Doc. I checked out. I was like, all right, man. I like him when he's in the he's got to be in there with the dryer anyway. That's classic Doc. He's got to be in there with the dryer. You know. Turn it off for a little bit though. Like, don't let it run. Most recent numbers for Ubisoft puts them at 17,000. So if there are estimates of 17,000 employees, and they let go 55 people, yeah, I don't know if there's much of a story there. Games, we can track who shoots first. Arc Raiders design lead says aggression-based matchmaking is a bit of a misnomer, and we don't do anything like skill-based matchmaking or gear-based. Wait. Well, why is this guy saying it's a misnomer? Because CEO said it's in the game. He said it's in the game. We track who shoots first. Arc Raiders design lead says aggression-based matchmaking is a bit of a misnomer. We don't... Okay. Come on. Adding some details. Recent comments from Embark Studios. Design lead Virgil Watkins says, while some folks may read too much into it, the community thinking is pretty close to the truth. I told y'all. Y'all are going to learn. Okay, it's a bit of a misnomer calling it aggression-based, and it is something we're going to keep tuning, but people aren't far off in how they think it works. Okay, so he is taking issue with the name, not how it works. Okay, I told y'all were out here lying, saying you weren't shooting. I wondered if the devs worry some people armed with basic understanding of Arc Raiders matchmaking will try to game the system artificially. Watkins Unbothered says that it's just another part of the experience. He does, however, advise players to remember that this is just one part of a more complex, evolving system. At present, I think we're kind of okay with the fact that you have some agency over the situation. If you want to really try to adjust and play in a bit of a less hostile environment, you are afforded a way to do so. But it should be clear to people, I hope, that it's also not binary. Obviously, you can tell it's weighted one way or the other, but it's never like you are now only with PvE players. You are now only with PvP players. It's a weighted system. There's a lot of layers to it, so it's not quite so A, B, as people might assume. This is why I told people you've got to provide more data. If you've got a bunch of games with like a mixture of engagements and shooting and downing other players, you can't just be like, but I'm peaceful now. I played a couple games peaceful. There's layers to how it works. And we don't do anything like skill-based matchmaking or gear-based matchmaking, he adds, soundly stamping out some of the lingering suspicions. It's really just this kind of rating system we have that maneuvers, and we're just going to keep monitoring match health and player response and tune it from there. Do you see what he's saying here that's so important? We're going to keep monitoring match health. Why? That matters. If you do skill-based or gear-based, you can end up with bad match health. You can end up with bad connections and people getting frustrated. Also, player response. This is why it exists. They don't want people quitting the game. They don't want people walking away because they're having a terrible time. This brought to my mind the idea of a PvP singularity where more and more people are tagged as involved with PvP no matter the circumstances. So I asked Watkins how the system registers aggressors. He says that's a good point to raise because we can track who shoots first and who takes damage and who does whatever. But the one thing the system does not do is attempt to assume intent. If I'm a very bad player and you're a good player and I'm the aggressor and I just miss all my shots and you defend yourself, the game doesn't know what the intent was. They just saw you kill me because I'm terrible. I told you. I was like, they're not going to be able to tell who the aggressor is. Yes, they can see who shot first, but they don't know if you're defending yourself and the other guy sucks and missed a bunch. I told you guys, it's never going to be that sophisticated. How on earth could they know what your intentions were? I told you guys, there's no way they're going to be able to presume the intentions of the player just based off of who shot first. Who shot first is just a static piece of information. It doesn't tell you what happened. I told people that. I was like, there is no way. If you're shooting back, you are taking a risk. You are risking communicating to the system that you are willing to engage in PvP. As they said, it's weighted. It's weighted. If you play 4 games in a row and you don't shoot first, but you manage to win and you manage to down the player, I don't think the game's going to be like, oh, they're clearly peaceful. Or if you end up trying to help a random by shooting an arc and you accidentally hit the player, to them, that looks like you're an aggressor. He made it sound like it's layered. He made it sound like it's weighted. It's not just, oh, you shot first, you're now an aggressor. It's more than that, which is exactly why I just would never, if you want to stay peaceful, okay, this was my advice from the beginning. If you want to stay peaceful, you just never, ever, ever shoot back. You don't. You don't shoot back. I thought who was on first. That's right. When would the first shooter not be the aggressor? If you run in the room and you pop off a shot in my direction and you spook me and I shoot back, well, now I'm the aggressor. I hit you first. People are like, oh, no, they'll be able to tell who initiated the fight. I'm like, no, they will not be able to tell that. That is way, way too high of an expectation. It can tell how much damage you did. It can tell who landed damage first. It can tell who got sent to the lobby and who didn't. That's what it can read. Thrash in the building. Yeah, like if listen, we periodically let people hop on the mic, to debate something. I would love to let people on like Thrash. If you can come in and, you gotta keep it PG. My version of PG. You gotta keep it my version of PG. The system wouldn't know you were aggressive if you missed. Wouldn't registered player damage first. Yeah. And I also think, like he said, it's weighted. Listen, it's weighted. If you're putting people down and you're winning, it doesn't know, oh, well, you were just defending yourselves. Like, I don't know, man. You just put down 4 players in a row, 4 matches in a row. Seems like you're maybe you're down with the PvP. You're okay with it. You're willing to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm telling you, and I tried to tell people this from the beginning, systems like this are never, ever, ever going to be that complex. They're going to have to take data and add scales to say, like I said, if you're giving them pure data, like I can never be misconstrued as a PvP player if I'm never shooting another player. There's no data to misinterpret. I'm giving it pure data. What did D-Batch say about the Steam machine? I don't know where he's getting this information, but D-Batch is saying the price of the Steam machine. Yo, what's good, Mike on the mic? He's saying that, oh, he got community noted. I was kind of curious why he hadn't been community noted yet. So he got community noted. He said, good news, the Steam machine leak prices are wrong. Looks like $600 for the 512, $700 for the 2 terabyte. And this community note says an official price is still yet to be announced. This is pure speculation. I think that's a fair community note, because it's like, I don't know where you're getting this information. I can't find it anywhere. I think the leaked prices on the reseller are not compelling either. We have no idea what those are. We have no idea what the price is. Now D is standing on what he said, okay? All right, somebody says, you are fake news. He says, circle back when the price is revealed and say this, all right? So he's saying, listen, you're going to circle back and I'm going to be right. That's what he's saying. He's not saying I have a source. He's not saying I'm in the know. He's saying, circle back when the price is revealed. So take that for what it's worth. I don't think he's posturing as a leaker or an insider. I think maybe he's making an estimated guess. Maybe he heard something. But if he heard something, I would imagine the very, very well-connected insiders would have heard something as well, and we just haven't seen anything anywhere. Unless people are trying to protect their sources. After what happened with Half-Life 3, Mike Straw felt like one of the leaks might have been a fake leak about Half-Life 3 and the announcement before the Game Awards. He was worried it was fake. He was like, they could be trying to catch somebody with that one. So, because nobody else would corroborate it. You guys remember, we were supposed to get like a Half-Life 3 announcement before the Game Awards. It didn't happen. 800's your guess. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He also believed in exclusivity with a passion. Now he's changed the narrative. Don't believe a shill. I don't know why you're calling him a shill. I mean, I'd have to see why you're trying to make a claim like that. I mean, what was he saying in the past? What's he saying now? I mean, I've never seen the tweets, so I don't know what you're referring to. So no Half-Life 3. I think Half-Life 3 exists. I think it exists. There was too much smoke for there to be no fire. But I also think that they're going to be very, very tight-lipped about it because I think they want it to coincide with the Steam machine. He's a former Xbox frontline soldier. They always spew crazy stuff. I've never seen anything from him that made me think he was crazy. I've just seen tweets here and there. Half-Life 3 is on Valve time, a.k.a. whenever the F they feel like it, for sure. For sure. It gives me hope that we may see Portal 3 in my lifetime. We may see Portal 3 in my lifetime. Guys, can we get 12 more likes on the video? I appreciate y'all so much. He says, coming out this year. If you think there's no inside retail info, then you're in denial. So he is claiming in another tweet that he has insider retail info. All right. All right. That's fine. We'll see. We will see. Mm-hmm. He was just playing a character. Some Xbox fans even admitted to huddling up and making up lies to console war. I mean, I think over the years, some folks were just messing around, right? I think some folks are just messing around. They're just having a laugh. And I think you start to get some clicks, you start to get some, notoriety, you start to get invited on podcasts, and you fast forward a couple of years, and you might not be able to tell what's what anymore. I don't know. I've always just said what I thought. Both barrels loaded. Like, I don't care. Because to me, it was like, I did the same thing when I covered Destiny, got me into trouble. I did the same thing when I covered Microsoft, ABK deal, got me into trouble, got so be it. I've never wanted to be like in character. I don't have the energy for that, dude. I'm an old man. I've been doing this for way too long to be doing a character or to be doing like a bit. You know? My problem is that I'm too transparent. That's always been my problem. I can't put on some front, you know? I don't have the energy for that crap. Never. I don't think I'll ever have the energy for it. With Control Resonant, we wanted to challenge ourselves to make the biggest and most ambitious game we've ever made. This is not a safe sequel. We want to try to push the boundaries of what we can do, and we believe after 7 years it's what you, the fans, deserve. I can't freaking wait. They did such a good job with Control. Like, I can't wait. Replaying Control right now. I swear it is even better than I remembered. I'm replaying Control right now. I swear it's even better than I remembered. It's so stinking good. I honestly think it's my appreciation for like the Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock that has made me appreciate. There's so much to Control in that game. There's so many layers and so many cool things that they've done. I don't want to stop playing. Like, I rolled credits and I'm like, oh, I'm not done. I'm gonna go back and do all this side stuff, dude. So good. The new Remedy game looks like a Soulsborne though. I think they just switched to melee based, which I think is a welcome change. I think taking the same idea of it's an object of power that you can manipulate and take on different forms with. So he's got like dual blades. He's got like a big, huge axe. I mean, he's got all kind of stuff. Yeah, it's definitely got some X-Files vibes, but X-Files, if you really want to look at it, X-Files is 100% influenced by the Twilight Zone. Alan Wake 2 makes Control look like a basic B, said by the guy who played with pass tracing, but still. Listen. I'm gonna try. That's why FBC was so disappointing. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. They could have gone they could have done a whole lot. I need a quick break. I'll be right back. Yeah. What's going on? How's that possible? It happened earlier. I go to get up and that monitor up there flickers. That doesn't make any sense. It did it again. It's like static from the chair. I gotta get a static mat. You just need a humidifier? There's got to be something I can get for the floor. I'm literally generating so much static. I touched the light switch when I came in this morning. It hurt. It literally was like a bee sting. Like, it was the biggest static shock I've ever felt. You know what I mean? Your body's personal magnetic field is causing interference with the monitor. No, it's a static buildup, and when I go to get up, it hits the mic because it's the closest thing to me, and it's obviously that's not good and that's dangerous. I've done everything I can. I take my slippers off because I felt like that minimized how much it was happening. It got cold, and Fuzzy's saying to get a humidifier. Dude, it got cold, and I feel like my room is just an unusual, just staticky environment. Are you eating foods with a lot of heavy metals? I don't think so. I don't think I'm becoming like liquid metal from Terminator. Jiminy. Jimmy Neutron needs to be grounded. I did a quick search on Amazon. I couldn't find anything. Aren't there mats you can put down that help with that, with like static discharge or something? It's because you're dry. I've got little silly humidifiers for the kiddos' rooms that I could put in here that would help. Because I know during the summer it doesn't happen. Winter's when it's at its worst. It's just static. Everything's staticky. I love the brutalist aesthetic of Control. Yeah, man. It looks so good. So good. Mutant Lona will return in Avengers Doomsday. Yeah, dude. That reminds me of that guy. There was a guy in The Tick, and he was Static Electricity Man, and he was covered in like a rug, and he just walked around. I was like, shh, shh, bzz, gotcha. And he just got too hot and sweaty, and he like fell down. You can get those rubber wristbands people wear who work on PCs to not get static shock. Oh, really? Is it that simple? American floor mats. Static dissipative mats. So that's what we're looking for. Static dissipative mat. I need something I can order on Amazon and have here like tomorrow. Static. There's dissipative shoes. There's discharge wristbands. I need a mat, dude. That's what I need. What the heck is going on? I can't even use Amazon right now. It's like all messing up. Mila Jovovich is the next target Agent 47 is going to face off against. Oh, really? She's joining Hitman? That'll be cool. That will be cool. Yeah, when you look for the mats, you just end up with like, there's anti-fatigue comfort industrial ergonomic mats. We've got one of those in the house. It's like gray. I don't think that would help though. Hang on 1 second. Okay. Yes. 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 Invalid URL. Okay. Just stop using balloons to style your hair. Humidifier. I'll put one of the kids' humidifiers down in here and see if it helps. That's why he has spiky hair. That's my secret, Cap. That's how I style my hair. I style it with static electricity. Pure grade static. They sell it at the salon that I go to. Can I get a quick stream recap if you don't mind? We talked about a lot for the first hour, just back and forth on different things. We were kind of all over the place. I reacted to a Bellular video about Naughty Dog. We reacted to a Bungie GDC video about why they knew the portal was a bad idea, and then they did it anyway. Yeah. Overall, good day. We've had good vibes and a good time. We're about to hit 300 likes. We want to end the day at 200 members, so if you guys have gifteds to do or renewals to do it now. Appreciate it. Yeah, Ubisoft laid off 55 at Massive and another place. Humidity plays a crucial role in mitigating static electricity by equalizing the electrical charges in the environment. By introducing moisture into the air, humidifiers combat the dryness, reducing the occurrence of static shocks. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we need it. I came in the office this morning, like I said, I went to turn the light on, and man, it was like you like heard it. It was like a snap. You could have heard it on the other side of the house. Was it the same video that Asmongold reacted to? Yeah, it started making the rounds, and then Asmongold reacted to it, and I was like, all right, I got to check this video out because I like Bellular. I thought his video contained all the pertinent information. I just feel like he came to a lot of presumptions that I don't think were just the presumptions weren't justified. You know, I didn't agree with Bellular's video. You know, it was perfectly fine video. I just felt like it was too presumptive. Any updates on the recent rumors I started about money laundering in the industry? No, it's sadly not really gone in a direction, and it's not led to any investigations. It has not led to any. Sorry. It's very quiet on the Western Front right now, too. Gaming news is still, slowly trickling out. A lot of Arc Raiders still in the news cycle. The cheating thing going on. If you guys didn't see our video on cheating, I've got a unique suggestion to the cheating. Meta has closed several of its studios, including Twisted Pixel, that did the Deadpool VR game, and Sanzaru Games. The studios behind Deadpool VR and Asgard's Wrath have been closed. Well, that's that. That is that, boys. I mean, those are... The Reanimal demo is available also on Switch too. Oh, nice. Those are the studios that were making some of the better VR games. Arc is good. I've been fortunate enough to be in games where people help. If you play that way and that's the energy you put out, generally speaking, it gets returned back. It gets returned back. You'll get those results. They basically confirm that that's how it works. So I don't find it surprising that, people are having a good time. I also don't find it surprising that people that want a PvP are pressed about it. They're not happy that that's going on. They don't like it. They want to be able to kill people doing PvE because it's easy. And it's hard to do that when the PvE boys are safe and cozy in lobbies that are more PvE. I do want to make sure this is in the video, though, because we'll timestamp this for people later. It looks like the Division Definitive Edition is on the way 10 years after its initial release. This is a surprising turn of events, and honestly, I'm surprised they're doing this. It's been almost 10 years, and it looks like the developer will celebrate by giving fans a chance to replay the experience in the Definitive Edition. While not confirmed by Ubisoft, advertising for an unannounced Definitive Edition popped up in Japan, along with what looks like to be hoodies, caps, and tees inspired by the Division's anniversary. So you can see here these images, Definitive Edition. Now, this could be not necessarily a remaster. This could be an all-in-one, update or something that's been given some spit shine and some polish. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's been fully upgraded or remastered or remade in any degree. It could be something very meager. So this is definitely happening. We also know that Division 3 is in production. It's not a secret. It's been announced. It's shaping up to be a monster. I can't really say anything more than that, but this is within these walls and massive. We are working extremely hard on something that I think will be as big as an impact as Division 1 was. We had a bit of a debate about this in Green Room yesterday. That's a great reason to not just be a member, but to be in the Discord. I was kind of shocked that he said this because I didn't feel like the Division 1 was all that impactful. My memory is different than everybody else's. I mean, that was the debate, right? Was that it was this super impactful game, and I was like, I didn't think that it was. It obviously got the attention of streamers for a while, but by and large, it felt like kind of how the way the Division 2 went. It was just like, cool idea, cool story, cool core game, and then, the end game really kind of, betrayed it. Like there just wasn't a lot there. Wasn't a lot there to do. So it wasn't. Yeah, I'm surprised he said that. I mean, unless again they're viewing it as like they influence the market, because I think the Dark Zone and Survival. This was something we did agree on yesterday. The Dark Zone and Survival certainly influenced the extraction market that we're in right now. They were probably the first to do it in the way that they did. The idea that you go in, you get loot, you get out, right? That was certainly, something that they kind of, at some level, they pioneered. And you could say they kind of are the seed bed that led to where we are, today. But in general, I don't remember it being all that impactful. I don't know. It set records when it released. Maybe my frustration with follow-up, their endgame follow-up was so frustrating, especially as a Destiny player. Maybe that's really clouded and shaded my memory of the game, because they did the same thing in the Division 2. It was like, this world's got a vibe, it's cool, it's satisfying, all this cool gear, and then you roll over into the endgame and you're like, this is stupid. This is so thoughtless and not thought through. I don't know. Outside of Destiny and Warframe, they have... that is true, Prosy. They are one of the few looter shooters that survived. It's crazy how these tactical games have evolved. I remember playing Soldier of Fortune on the Dreamcast and then Rainbow Six games on various platforms. How far apart did Div 1 and D1 come out? Was it similar years? How far apart did Div 1 and D1 come out? Did you mean to say Div 1 and Div 2? Destiny 1 came out. Oh, he's asking about Destiny. Yeah, Destiny 1 was out before it. In the wake of the King's Fall raid going into 2016, so 2015, end of 2015 was the Taken King and the King's Fall raid. So end of 2015 into 2016, I was just grinding that raid, and all the big streamers went and played the Division. And that's how I garnered enough viewership and following to get partnered on Twitch. That's how long ago that was. So that was, that was 10 years ago. Brett saying it set records. Okay. Open link. Sales broke Ubisoft and industry records for a new franchise, earning over $330 million worldwide in the first 5 days. Player engagement achieved peak concurrent users of 1.2 million in more than 100 million hours. Yeah, see, okay, so my issue with this is follow through, okay? Do you think that New World was impactful as well? Like, would we argue that New World was impactful? The popularity of New World and its player engagement in the early days was insane, and then the follow-through was frickin' terrible. Like, I think that's my problem with it, is it's like, well, yeah, everybody was super excited, and it sold well. It was a big new game from Ubisoft. It was a big new game from Ubisoft that had been hyped up and marketed to heck and back for years. Remember the early trailers where he, like, finds the gun, and it looks really cool, and it's, got all the stats, sort of floating above it, and none of that makes it into the game. It felt a lot like Watch Dogs, right? It wasn't as bad as Watch Dogs, but it felt very similar. It was like you guys had these early trailers that looked mind-blowing, and then the delivery was not that. Seismic, yeah, I don't think I don't know if we would describe New World as seismic either. New World was insanely popular, and then the follow-through was bad. And the same could be said for the Division 1 and the Division 2. I don't know. I remember when I saw the trailer for Div 1 and was still playing D1, Destiny 1, I said it'll be a huge and great game if done right. Both Division games suffered the same fate. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, you know what it makes me think of? It makes me think of Defiance. It's like a game that is early and has good ideas, but then the follow-through isn't there. Right? And if the follow-through isn't there, does it really matter? Like, is anybody talking about how Defiance basically did a lot of what we saw in Destiny and other games now, but they did it first? Is anybody talking about that? I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of these games, and Division's one of them, it's like, well, yeah, you were the first, but, like, does it matter? Like, I don't know. Mad props to New World, but they're no Division. Didn't New World have... Yeah, New World had almost 1 million concurrents on Steam alone. That's one platform. Like, I don't know. The interest in New World was insane. And then the follow-through was terrible. And the interest in Division was insane. And then the follow-through was terrible. Like, I just don't know. Aspirational content keeps people coming back when the vanilla content is completed. I think more focus should be on endgame than base content if your goal is to keep gamers coming back. The hypothetical and romanticized Division is a lot better than the actual real-world Division, says Wheezy. It's important to remember that Div 2 was officially EOL'd and pulled back off the chopping block, and that's by Ubisoft. Well, yeah, because player engagement was still so consistent and so healthy that they saw reason to keep going. They saw reason to keep going. So, like, again, I don't think that's credit to, like, oh, the game is seismic or influential. They had a player base that justified business impetus to continue supporting it. Like, that's like a business decision more than a cultural or industry impact. Like, that's not industry impact or cultural impact. That's, yeah, people are still playing. I don't think those two things are necessarily equal. It's impressive. Credit where credit's due. Like, wow, you got people still playing after all these years, and it justifies continued content and updates. That's great. That's not easy to do. You know, that's not easy to do. Amazon walking New World EOL back. Right, but again, I don't think you've made the case that there is an industry impact because they're still around. Them being still around is you've got a core audience. Impressive. Praiseworthy. admirable. It's not industry impactful. It's not seismic in my mind. I've not been compelled that it's seismic. I'm impressed. I've been impressed by what they do. I still think the game has a great feel and vibe and look. I think it sort of checks that box we were talking about earlier, where you need a game that has like a feel and a tone. It needs to pass the vibe check. I think The Division has always been able to do that. There's something about that game and that world that just feels good. But I don't know. I think that Final Fantasy XI servers are still up. Destiny 1 servers are still up. Well, I wouldn't say those are equivalent, because it's not just that The Division was going to get its servers shut off and they're now keeping the servers on. They were going to literally just stop supporting it and adding content, and they've since gone year after year after year continuing to add more content to it. And I think they deserve credit for that. Like, they clearly did something right. So to have players and to have financial backing to justify that after all these years, that I think is impressive. I thought about doing Twitch over the years, but it seems like the only games that people get popular from playing are games that I'd never play. Who would watch me play a single-player game? The only way I think you could get popular playing single-player games is you'd have to do unique challenges where you're really flexing skill. I think that's difficult. You'd have to do a character that is ridiculously entertaining. I think that's also difficult. I think the site now has an army of VTubers that have big followings. Anytime you try and do something like that, you'll get a lot of negativity. They'll say that you're trying to copy Burnt Peanut or something. I think that would be the only way to do it, though. You'd have to be, like, if I'm going to come and watch you play through a game that's coming out this year, Control Resonant, or, any of the single-player titles that people are interested in, Soros, something like that. You'd have to bring something to that game that nobody else is doing. You have to bring something to that game that is going to be intrinsically entertaining. I think that's really difficult to do. I think what makes something like the Burnt Peanut work is he can go into an environment that's sort of a canvas that he can do with it what he wants. That's difficult to do with a single-player game. It is. I think it's harder to do. I could see a future where Burnt Peanut's doing that, right? You build your audience, you get super popular, and in a couple of years he might be like, you know what? Sometimes I want to take it easy and play a single player game. And I think he could bring his vibe and his comedy to a single player game. But it'd have to be, the right kind of game. And it also works like, you got a streamer like that kind of feeding off the audience. It works when you have like a really engaged audience that's going to support it as well. Like, they're going to back him and they're going to be there, for those streams. They already had the voice changer in Arc Raiders. Yeah, but now that everybody knows what it sounds like, that first day we thought we were talking to a kid who claimed he was an adult, and it was just an adult who I think he probably forgot that he turned the voice changer on. That would be my guess. We were like, that ain't no adult. We're like, what the heck? And he probably just forgot that he turned the voice changer on. It'd be cool to see him in Souls games. Yeah, Souls games. Yeah. I know Doc did that for a while, and it went well for him. Going into things like, Elden Ring and other games. Multiplayer games are easy content. Easier. Yeah, I was going to correct you on that. I was like, I don't think they're easy at all. It's very difficult. I remember there was a time where I did a character in Fortnite. It is challenging. It is super challenging. Because you got to play well. You got to stay in character. And those two things are difficult to do simultaneously. It's very draining. Very, very draining. You've really, really got to want it. You've really got to want it. You've got to have like a drive. So if you don't have it, you ain't going to be able to keep doing it. And part of it is you need support. You need people to rally and create a vibe around the character. And if that doesn't happen, that makes it even harder. If people like you as a personality enough, they'll watch whatever you play. Yes and no. I mean, I think by and large, what people tune in and watch me for is the back and forth, the interaction, the debate, the rants, the arguments. If that's what you like, and then I start playing a game, you're not getting that. So it can, we lose a good chunk when we start doing gameplay. Yeah. If it's brand new, people will stick around because they want to see like what the game is. But after that, it's the interest drops off because to them it's like, I'm here for a podcast, I'm here for a show, which I totally get. So it really depends on the personality, and it depends on what you're doing. You need to have 12 hours a day to figure out the advantages to be good. It is not real talent when lag is involved. I don't have that much time or want to rage out. I'm not sure what you're saying. Excuse me. We watch you for information, not the back and forth. I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me that they watch me for information, not the back and forth. I think I've always been told the exact opposite. Most of the people that watch here typically know what's going on. They've heard it, seen the tweet, seen the article, seen the videos. They come here for the interaction and the back and forth. I don't know. I feel like that's been the consistent feedback I've received over the 10 years that I've done this. I've always enjoyed your radio style content. I appreciate that. Oh, multiplayer games are not for you. That's what you were saying. Oh, okay. Okay. You are informative. Well, I appreciate you thinking that, Prosy. I try to be as informative as I can, but like over the years, I mean, I've tried to make that like a bit of a balancing act. Like if I'm just literally sitting here doing newsread to you, that's not that compelling, You have to be a people person and not a jerk. Respect to the viewers goes a long way. Sure, unless, of course, part of the stick is like being mean to your audience or talking junk to your audience. Some guys can get away with it. The two go hand in hand. Yeah. It's like two engines on a plane, keeping things balanced. You got to have good info. You got to have substantive info so people feel like they can come to you and get informed and not just get like half the story. But then, that info is what can drive the discussion. It's your analysis of the news that I come for. Well, I appreciate that. I don't read gaming news anymore, so I just tune into your page for my gaming fix. Yeah, we've tried to balance it. Like, there was a time where I would do a pretty good amount of info dump at like the beginning of the stream, and we got a lot of negative feedback on that. Like, people wanted to interact. They didn't want to have like this news read dump at the beginning. So we've tried to balance it. I try to mingle what I like with what the audience likes. You kind of have to do both. Like, I obviously can't sit here and do something that makes me miserable, but I also can't just ignore if people are like, yeah, we didn't like that, if I did something that people didn't like. So we're always kind of open to that feedback. I feel like the show has been pretty balanced as of late, and I feel like you guys have enjoyed it and responded positively. We've got a lot of positive feedback on, how we do React content. So we'll see what comes from the Bellular video, because there are people that will probably leave comments that feel, like, because they don't like Naughty Dog or they don't like PlayStation, and they're going to obviously view it through that lens of, you're just defending them, you're just coping and angry because you're a PlayStation fan. And it's like, I am the first to become worried and concerned about projects when reports come out, when we actually have valid info. I've done that with plenty of things that have come out from Sony and their Sony property. I don't feel like we have that with Naughty Dog currently. I'll be the first to be like, yep, sounds bad, if we get actual reports of some of the things, that were presumed in that video. What if you could have those conversations while playing, with your chat while playing a game, occasionally giving commentary about whatever game you're playing? Well, the difficulty with that is I can't do both. Like, if you're going to get, like, high-level interaction and back and forth with me, I can't be playing something. Like, I was kind of able to do that in the Discord. The guys in Discord will tell you, when I was grinding Returnal for the final perks on the guns that I was looking for, I was able to just sit and banter and have a conversation the entire time. But that was because it was this rote, rehearsed grind that I had come up with to try to get perks on these guns, right? Well, that's easy to do because I'm just kind of going through the motions in the game. I know where to jump, where to stand, what to do. I had the rooms memorized. I had the enemies, for the most part, memorized. So, if you remember, too, in Destiny, the reason that I started sitting in orbit was because it brought the Destiny vibe, but I wasn't playing something that was distracting me. I was able to fully devote myself to paying attention to the audience, as opposed to, like, trying to play something and then periodically grab a comment, and react to it or respond to it. So, yeah. It's a bit of a meme, but that's why it's a meme. Like, I started literally just sitting in orbit because it was a whole lot easier to carry on the conversation that way. So when's the Code Violet gameplay stream? I'm not giving those losers a dime, dude. Nuh-uh. They had to crunch for about 2 weeks. It was 7 weeks. And then, then they got like a week of paid holiday for the paid vacation for the holiday. So nowadays, sitting in orbit is more fun than the game. You were ahead of your time. I'm not a monster, I'm just ahead of the curve. Yeah, that was we were known for that. Yeah, maintenance those were really good days. Yeah. Article I posted up there. Masters of Albion is a culmination of my life's work. Peter Molyneux or Molyneux, how do you say his name? Final God Game has a release date in the new trailer. Masters of Albion. I feel like I've seen a lot of people talking about this one. Let me go to YouTube for the trailer. IGN embeds the video and the player. I don't like the player at all. Official release date trailer. Wait, did I mute? Oh, okay. Let me unmute it. I'll stop my music.
As a resident of Albion, I've seen it all. Life's a little stranger in my neck of the woods, see? There's Big Hand, for one thing. Controlling all our towns. Building all our buildings. Making weapons for our heroes.
Hello, Big Brew.
But what really freaks folk out is when Big Hand takes possession of them and goes exploring and questing. Fact is, Hand will even slide inside the mind of our pets if we let it. But we wouldn't have it any other way. Because Big Hand is our protector, see? Because once the sun's gone down, creatures of the night rise up. I'm calling. We have heroes to stand and fight, of course, but Big Fingers is the keystone in this castle. Right now, we have a vacancy that needs filling. There's one seat empty in this story, that of the Master. Might you be the one to sit on his throne? Might you be the next Master of Albion?
Yeah, you guys are saying this is from the guy who made Fable. That's a really, really interesting concept of like that was all game footage, by the way. You know, the city building, the tower defense, being able to control the people down on the ground. Like, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there to that I could see people really vibing with. That's just not my kind of game. I wouldn't play that. It doesn't do anything for me. Look up Black and White, like the game. We're going back to Black and White style. Black and White 2 PC games trailer from 14 years ago. Look at the dimensions of this frickin' trailer. Fable and Black and White. Black and White came first and set the precedent for games like this. So 14 years ago, like when a game like this came out, I was just fully back on console. Like 2007, I was just right back in with the consoles. I was playing, on my 360. I remember getting the Wii and playing that a lot with my wife and playing Force Unleashed and stuff like that. I'd completely walked away from PC land. All right, we got, let's see here. What time is it? Okay, we'll do the same thing as yesterday. We got about 18 minutes left in the stream. If you guys want to submit questions, if you guys want to bring up topics, if you guys want to try to have your little contest, it's 20-6. YouTube leads. We're a little behind pace. We want to end today at 200. That way we're on pace for Friday night with Madam. So that's something to always check. See if your primes are ready for re-up. See if your YouTube membership is ready for re-up. You can celebrate those. So these games are all the same, Black and White and Fable. I don't know. I don't think people are saying they're the same. I think they're saying they're the same style. It's like the same approach. You should check out Mind's Eye. Why would I check out Mind's Eye? I covered it before it came out, told everybody it was going to be terrible. It came out and it was terrible. Speaking of looter shooters, I don't think it's been able to hear your thoughts on the Cube. I don't think the Cube looks good at all. I don't. I don't like that world. I don't feel like those devs will be equipped to do what's necessary for a game like that to be ongoing. That's such a tall order to suddenly jump into. I mean, they could totally jump through the ring of fire, but I've not seen anything that interests me. I'm not interested in live service games really anymore. They don't speak to me. If you like Destiny, you should play Star Citizen. There's a lot of people that are loving Star Citizen and willingly, giving them money. There's a lot of other people that are kind of like waiting to see if it ever fully releases instead. So, yeah. You excited for Wolverine? Yeah, I think Wolverine looks great. My top 3 games this year are Saros, Control Resonant, and Wolverine. In that order, by the way. I'm looking forward to Saros and Control Resonant more than Wolverine. Like, Wolverine looks like it's going to be an absolute blast, but I connect more with games like Saros and Control, where there's like a really cool, interesting story and character, and there's this amazingly, super creative gameplay. Wolverine's going to be great, I trust, but it's just the Spider-Man games are fun and I enjoyed them. But what's more memorable to me are games like Returnal. I loved Ragnarok. I feel like Returnal is still PlayStation's best first-party game this gen. So, yeah, solid year. A lot of games to look forward to. You can really take your pick. If you've got preferences and game types that you like, man, oh man, you take your pick. There is so much to play. So many different types of games are coming out. Okay. All right, what time is it? Oh, yeah, 15 minutes. Now, if you want to continue the day with us, we do Green Room now in the Discord. That's a great place to be. If you want a further explanation of why we no longer do members content on YouTube, I'll explain that to you there. Cliff's Notes version is, until YouTube fixes it, we can't do it because it's harmful. So, yeah. We still celebrate members on Friday night with Madam, and we do a members only chat that night. It's a end of the week celebration where she reacts to gaming news, and it's a really, really good time. So when we hit that goal, that's what we do every week. And then a great place to hang out when you have a membership is our Discord, so you don't miss out on any of the extra stuff that we do, like a Green Room or Town Hall. Do you see yourself trying out Marathon when it comes out? I don't see why not. I mean, I'm not really holding my breath for that game either. I don't think that thing's got a whole lot of... I don't think Marathon has a whole lot of shelf life. I think it'll struggle to maintain players. I just don't think games like that are... I just don't think they have a long draw. I think people are going to like it for a week or so who are already interested. I don't think they change public perception at all. I think they've got some people that have kind of changed their minds, but by and large, I don't think they've had people. There were people convinced it was going to be fun, people convinced it was trash, and then people on the fence. I think some people on the fence have been convinced it looks better. The people convinced it was trash, I don't think they've been compelled at all. I think they're just like, yeah, it still looks bad. I finished Control a while ago, but I forget. Is Polaris basically a part of the hiss? Like, did it trick Jesse into releasing it? There's probably debates about how to interpret what happened. Yeah, it's hard to know. Like, did her being exposed to the slide machine, is that where Polaris came from? And then did that connection give Polaris a means of getting her to set the hiss free? But I don't know. Spoilers for a super old game. Yeah. Like, there's probably a lot of theories on what exactly happens at the end. It's not super clear. We're probably going to have to have some kind of an explanation for why the hiss broke out of the bureau and has completely wrecked Manhattan. Because the one scientist says, I've got a good recording of it. There's this one scientist in Control, and he talks about how they find this resonance that will tear you apart. It creates like molecular instability, and it'll completely destroy you, and it'll make you hear things, right? And then if you look at the city, two more. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat, Brett. There's 2 minutes left on the super chat goal. Brett's trying to help us hit it. Thank you so much. I feel like that resonance is seen not just in the name, Control Resonant, but it's seen in the city, in Manhattan. Like, it has been torn apart. It has been restructured, seemingly by the resonance that the scientist is talking about. Like, it gets out somehow. I think maybe the hiss is a very juvenile understanding of what exactly is on the other side. So we'll see. We also have to figure out, what happens to Jesse? Like, does the trailer indicate, is he like trying to find her? I can't remember if the trailer signals, like, does he acknowledge her existence at all? I kind of want to watch it in light of what we know now.
Do you feel it?
Okay, let's see.
Do you feel it? Something is coming.
Yeah, see, that's not hiss, whatever that is. That's something more.
Of staggering power. Reshaping reality as we know it. Everything we tried to keep inside eventually worms its way out. Everything we try.
Now you notice what he says. Okay, this is really cool because I just played this, right? This is the mold. He says everything we tried to keep inside eventually got out. That's the mold. And the one doctor, when we were collecting the mold samples for her, Jesse says, I had this weird, strange, urge to eat it. And she said, yeah, that makes sense, but don't do that. Look at the sign. It says, resist the urge, and they got it in front of the mold. So the mold gets out, and people are probably freaking eating it. Like, that's why that sign says resist the urge. Like, having just played Control, like, I think that's what this is. So he says everything we tried to keep in. It wasn't just the hiss. There was the mold as well that did different things to people.
Tried to keep inside.
Like, this is hiss.
Eventually worms its way out.
Who knows what that is? That could be Jesse on the couch there. No. No, that's not. Wait. Okay, so that's... All right, we know who this is because we know the end of the trailer. So that might be Jesse in the bed. Maybe they've swapped places. Like, Dylan's out.
Had good reasons.
Oh, no, wait. It is her.
But we were not prepared. For what would follow.
The sibling has gone rogue. Okay, so this is the board now talking to Dylan and says the sibling has gone rogue. So Jessie is now lost her mind or something and attacked him. This is so sick. You're up. Your turn. Woo! It's so... Oh, I'm telling you, they cooked. They absolutely cooked.
It's gonna get weirder.
Oh, there she is. Okay, this has got so much more potency after replaying the game. Like, they're clearly picking up so many of the threads and so many of the cool things that happen in Control. You guys really, really need to play the first frickin' game before you play this. I'm telling you, the first Control has aged incredibly well. It's better than I remember. I've rolled credits, but I'm still playing. There's so much left I want to do. Oh my gosh. That trailer is even better having just finished the main story in Control. Game of the year right there. I mean, it's a definite contender. I mean, the vibe is just... I loved it. Because I remembered enough that when he was holding the two blades and he caused, like, the resonance to make it, like one go into the other, I immediately was excited. I was like, it's going to be melee-based. And then you see the axe and you see the double blades and he's like juggling people in the air, kind of Devil May Cry style. I was like, oh my gosh, they freaking cooked. They cooked. Yo, Stone Spire's coming in. I know what he's going to do. He's going to try to stoke the fires. We've got 5 minutes left and he wants a 20 bomb to 150. He's going to do 2 singles. We'll see if anybody grants him his wish. He wants somebody to capstone the day. There it is. Thank you so much, Stone Spire. 130 on the week. I wonder when the release date will be. I'm assuming it's going to be sometime in the summer. They're probably just trying to make sure that they get out before the fall because of GTA. GTA vacating May probably helped them, would be my guess. That's what I'm thinking, maybe like a summertime. So, if you guys are going to do it fast. We're going to Green Room in 4 minutes. And Purple is slow today. They have their off days and their on days. It's all right. It's all right. They they some big dogs over there. You be careful. You be careful poking that bear over there. Purple can bring the heat. They can bring the heat. Alex says we're EP over here today. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It all works out most weeks, man. You know, not every day. Not every day. We don't expect that. That's not fair. That's why we tell folks, pick up your own membership, upgrade to Member Plus, those things, you know. Can't always count on folks gifting. I gift regularly and many other people do here. Play Fortnite, please. I like. There's a really great way to watch people play Fortnite. You just go to Fortnite and then watch people play Fortnite. It's real easy. You know what I mean? Is Control on PS Plus? I think that it is, yes. I think that it is. I could write out the entire plot of Control, and not only would none of it make sense, the game is still just as fun to play. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's only one enemy in the game that kind of tilts me a little bit, Zoob. It's those mold guys that shoot. It's so hard to see them, and it's so hard to see their shots. And they will melt you. Like, I'm stacked. I'm healthy. I've got a big health bar, and I'm strong as frick right now. And those mold guys will melt you. I mean, it's so fast. You're like, huh? I'm dead? It's really quick. And it's really hard to see. Like, their shots are these teeny tiny little, like, beams of, like, it's almost like water that they're shooting, like brown water that they're shooting at you. I remember playing Control. I remember Control being more entertaining than Alan Wake 1. Yeah, people are telling me I got to get on that Alan Wake 2. I just have to play it from the beginning. I completely lost my bearings the last time I played it. I was like, I don't know what the frick's going on. After playing Alan Wake 1 and 2, Control should be fun. If you like Control, you'll like Alan Wake. I feel like I need to play the first one to fully appreciate Alan Wake 2. All right, guys, 60 seconds and we're out of here. So do me a favor. If you haven't already, hit the like button. If you're not going to come to Green Room, that's totally fine. I know some of you guys aren't really down with the Discord. But I tell you what you can do. You can support our latest upload. We have a video about the cheating in Arc Raiders. So there's a link in chat right now for both of you. Be sure to check that out if you're curious about what my creative solution is. Did you understand the gym scene at all? Gym scene? You'll have to go into more detail. I'm not sure what you're talking about. The only enemy I really hated was the invisible bat monster. I could deal with it, but it made me anxious. Yeah, the bat monster feels like you kind of have to like bait him and then throw something at him, like just be holding something. He can be a little frustrating, but not too bad. Those mold guys will shoot you, and you're just like all of a sudden dead. It's really fast. So, where are we leaning here? Yeah, split. Okay. I will hype the video. Yeah, if you guys have the ability to hype a video on mobile, please do that every time we do an upload. That's extremely helpful. So the Discord link is below. You can also use the Discord command in chat. Discord is a perk of being a member and supporting us here. So make sure and use that. That is something that even if you're gifted and somebody else is paying for that membership, man, that is a way for you to stay connected with the community. All right? Thanks for a great day. We appreciate you guys supporting the channel so much. We'll see you back here tomorrow for more gaming news, and we're going to head to the Discord now for more discussions.